Jesus Christ, you people suck.
Wow.
Wolverine wanted to be in this.
Back in the days when we played video games, it was hardcore for the nerdy and lazy. Now things have changed and all our video games are also for the casual and lady.
But that's okay, you know the score. We told you a million times before. Playing consoles, not just games, is in the past. And every week you listen to the best damn internet radio crew. It's the N4G podcast. It's the N4G podcast.
Alright, it's time for another week. N4G Radio. This is episode 689 for February 28th, 2022. We snuck one last episode into February. Short month. But on the show this week, we have Anthony.
Yep.
And we have resident Elden Ring hater Jay on the show as well.
Buongiorno.
Heathen. Burn them.
They finally got me on here just to yell at me and stuff, so I'm here.
FromSoft brings you out of retirement.
It does. Last time I was here, that wasn't Game of the Year, was probably when I was talking about Sekiro. And, that game got a very good score from me. Elden Ring, not as much.
I mean, a lot of people hold Sekiro in really high regard, and it's funny, like Anthony was saying before the show, nobody really talks about it anymore.
It's one of those things where it made a big splash when it first came out because it was so different than the other Souls game. But because it was kind of a one-up spin-off, right? A lot of its functionalities and mechanics haven't really transferred over to the other games. So that's probably the reason why people don't talk about it. But I would love a Sekiro sequel or a game in that spirit. It would be fantastic because that's my personal favorite FromSoft game of all time.
But what's funny about that though is the on the opposite end of that spectrum, Bloodborne, which is very different than the Souls games, people do talk about.
True.
They go nuts. Bloodborne is the most talked about Souls game, which is weird.
I think it kind of comes down to the Forbidden Apple, right? Because it's still stuck on the PS4 land without having a PC port and anything. And the PS4, even with the PS5, never got that 60 frames upgrade. So it's always been stuck in that chunky 30 FPS slowdown range. So people have always been talking about the one to remaster and re-release Bloodborne, which I would love to see as well. But Sekiro, it just came out. It was good as it is, and it came out in multiple platforms. So no need to have any controversy around it, right? So it's kind of one and done. But Bloodborne, I think we have to get a remaster of some kind for that game at some point.
One would hope, right?
I think Bloodborne is also the most compelling because it has a lot of lore kind of built into it, where Dark Souls, I know it's there, but it's not as obvious, right? Bloodborne has a cutscene to show it have an introduction and everything, and then the style is Victorian, so it stands out in comparison to every other Knights sort of game, right? So
Gothic Knights.
Yeah, it's such a very unique looking game. And then if you know anything about it, the things that happen in there, I think that's part of it. Somebody said if you take away the difficulty from, Souls games, what is there? Well, there's always lore. There's always a lot of amazing character design. Music, I know that's not something a lot of people point out, but it's there. It's very good. And it just, there's a ton of stuff. And Bloodborne, I think, is the biggest example of a ton of story.
Bloodborne
to just sort of pick up on as you go through.
Bloodborne felt like FromSoft's Nightmare Creatures 3 to me.
Nice, I like that comparison.
I don't know, that game just gives me Nightmare Creatures vibes so hard. And it's actually the From game that I've played the most of and enjoyed the most. And I can't bang my head against those games. They drive me crazy.
Yeah, I've actually gotten that response a lot when it comes to a lot of the FromSoft games. People have repeatedly told me that Bloodborne is the only one that they've actually really put any time into. Mostly because they were so like vacuumed in due to like the art style, the world design, and the dark and gritty side of it. And also, it's a game that really promotes being aggressive compared to a lot of the earlier Souls games where it really pays to be patient and pick your timing for attacks. Bloodborne has that whole mechanic is when you take damage, if you immediately take attack the enemy, then you gain a lot of the health back. So you have a lot of chances for you to gain the health that you just lost back just by being aggressive and kind of attacking all the way. So I think that kind of resonated with a lot more people. But hitting on what like Anthony was saying, like every Souls game does have cinematics, like every single one of them. Even Demon Souls had an intro cinematic kind of laying out the world design and everything. But I would agree that Bloodborne probably has the most in terms of like cutscenes and other things of that nature that's happening. So I can see why it might resonate. And the whole, Cthulhu, you
Yeah,
know,
I
old one
think
shit is crazy.
the reason why the Bloodborne one stands out is like another character is actually like talking to you. It's not just some sort of like narrator.
Hmm.
Um, the hospital bed sequence, like it's very odd. It doesn't feel like any of the Dark Souls stuff. As I've
Right.
started all the Dark Souls games and never finished any of them.
Shit,
Oh,
I've never finished a From game. Bloodborne was the one I
Actually,
made it the
I lied.
furthest in.
I lied. I did not play Dark Souls 2. I watched my father do that because he was hogging the PS3 at the time. We only had one.
he took a bullet for you because I did not enjoy Dark Souls 2 all that much.
That was the one that he really got into the multiplayer on, and then that's how he got into. That's the reason why I like Dark Souls 3. That's the reason why I like Bloodborne. That's the reason why I like Neo. Like he loves the multiplayer aspect of that.
That's
Actually,
that's fascinating to me
I'm
because I
lying.
never delved into that. Go
That
ahead.
I was gonna say I'm
What do you think?
lying. I have finished a From game. It was the original Armored Core on PlayStation
Yeah,
1.
baby, I knew that was coming. I love those Armored Core games, and we're getting a new one, right?
Supposedly, but is it made? Wait, it's a rumor that From is making a new Armored Core game.
Oh, is it rumor? I thought it was verified. Oh,
No, I don't know what their next game is, but if it's Armored Core, I would totally be into that. I know, like the first two are really resonate with me. The first one, and then what was the second one called? Like Phantom something.
I have no idea, man. It's been too long, but yeah, there was some kind of like low end of Armored Core game because they did make a bunch of them.
Yeah,
But even the one that they released, I think on PS3, like For Answer Armored Core or
yeah,
Armored Core For Answer, that was also a good entry too.
yeah.
Um, I would just
That
love to see them make a new Armored Core with the funding and the money that they have
yeah.
at their disposal
the
now
last one.
compared to what they used to be.
The
It's
last
crazy.
one was Verdict Day,
Oh God, I remember that was
and before that,
360, right?
and
360
PS3,
PS3,
and
yeah.
that was 2013. And 2012, Armored Core V5 came out.
Yeah, I still have those. But man, that first one on PlayStation 1, I got obsessed with that thing. I was making some crazy robots to go on my sorties.
Yeah, it was really good stuff. It was kind of the first of its kind to really allow you to customize your mech in such a way that really felt like your own, right? It like really mirrored your playstyle. Getting new parts felt interesting and exciting, and the controls actually felt pretty good even on the PS1 controller.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see what they do with that series. But I feel like we just broke up the entire structure of the podcast. Ken, did we did we go
No, who
over like
cares?
a couple of different things?
Well, actually, we could just roll right into From Soft conversation and talk about Elden Ring. 'Cause that's why you're here.
That is indeed true. And for those that do not know, I reviewed the game on PC. I gave it an 8 out of 10, um, mostly because there are some aspects of the game as far as the actual content where it falls into some of the familiar trappings of the open world, where it repeats a lot of the content. For example, I had fought the same boss, I think about 4 or 5 times, and that happens to like 4, 5, 6, 7 different types of bosses that you fight. It just kind of kills me when I see a lot of these filler content go into a world that seems so interesting and inviting for me to explore every inch of it. The only good thing or the only saving grace to that aspect is basically that you do get rewarded for everything that you do. Even if you fight the same boss for like the 4th time, or you're fighting the same boss along with another boss again, you still get some cool rewards in terms of like weapons, armors, like different types of like spells and stuff like that. So in that way, it was compelling enough for me to continue. But I think we have all said this in one way or another. I am more interested in having a really compelling, lean 10 to 20 hour experience compared to something that is bloated and it's like 70 hours, We have stuff to do. We have other games that we have on our docket. So when it comes to those kind of things, if this game was trimmed down, a lot of the side areas and maybe like even the sides of the world reduced down a bit, I think it would have made for a better game. Yes, it is impressive and quite the achievement what they're able to do with the ridiculous size of the world, to be frank, because I put about like 70 hours until I beat the game. I could have beaten it earlier, but I wanted to explore the big side areas, I suppose. But the other big thing that I actually had to mention was that the PC version was just not in a good state when I reviewed the game, and it still isn't.
Yeah.
A lot of people told me that, day one patch is coming, and Ken, you reached out to the developer and PR team for me.
Yep.
And they never even got back to us in terms of like regards of like any kind of fix, because I imagine that they've gotten that question basically from every PC reviewer.
I'm going to quote the wonderful piece of shit on Twitter, known as Nintendo Shill. Day 1 patch will be released to address issues seen in both beta releases and the network test. Make sure to update your review once launch comes along. You can't adjust FPS or VSync the same way you couldn't in prior games from Software. Jay, I would like to know, did the Day 1 patch actually fix anything?
It actually made things worse. What it did is that by updating the executable, it actually undid a lot of the shader loading that you did previously.
Oh, no.
So not only did it not make it better, it made it worse for people that were actually.
I need you to update. I need you to update your review, please.
Oh, I need to bring it down a few points.
7.5. 7.5.
Yeah.
Fucking.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and there was a bit of backlash. And Ken, I have to give you the utmost credit, my friend. The one of the best decisions you've ever made was removing that comment section from my page.
I said the same thing after it happened.
Removing the vote up and down thing too.
Oh god, that thing would have been off the charts if I'd have left that thing in there.
All my fucking reviews would get super negatives. So
because we'll be staring at 1,000 like replies of messages about hate about how this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Oh, this guy liked Octopath Traveler better than the Elden Ring.
I want to say,
Jay, hold on. Yeah. Let me quote ERockQ on Twitter. And say, you gave Octopath Traveler a higher score. Almost every grindy, repetitive JRPG you've given significantly higher scores. The word is contrarian. Why did you review this game? Maybe to benefit off of controversy? Yes. Jay, I'd like to ask, how much money have you made off this review?
It's all of the money, Anthony. Just all of it. Right now, I'm in a tub full of money. Thanks, Ken, for the check that.
Hey, no problem. Nice. I did also want to say, and I want to point this out because Jay is one of maybe 1 or 2 reviewers that actually finished it before they put the review out.
Also, Jay is somebody asked when I was watching my friend play last night. They're like, was he the type because they don't know you, Jay, and they're like, oh wow, and is it just because he's not that type of fan? And I'm like, no, he played the PC version, and there's issues. And all the people that I was kind of chatting with last night, it's my D&D group, both of them that have played the game on PC said, oh, there's definitely issues still. And they're like, yeah, that makes sense. Because somebody asked, oh, is he not a From Software guy? I'm like, no, this was handed to the guy on the site. I would not trust the review it's in the best hands possible. It's funny that people don't know you that are commenting on this because they're like, you're contrarian. Jay is not contrarian. Jay has no issue telling you that your game is bad.
Yeah. I have no qualms about rating things higher or lower than what the Metacritic or OpenCritic consensus seems to be. It's just kind of our thing. We have that freedom thanks to the little niche that we have, right? This is not our job. We're not
Yeah.
beholden to the deadlines, to the companies, or anyone else in between. So we can just say it honestly and fairly as far as what we felt and what our experience was, and that's how it's always been. That's why I've stuck around for this long, because we have this platform where although our readership might be small, I think the people that know
Well,
us
not today.
know that we speak from the heart, and we always give them a fair shot. But I expected it, because when I gave that 8 out of 10 and embargo date hit, and I saw those 10 out of 10s, and I think it was sitting at a 97 or 98 on Metacritic at some point. I think it's at a like 96 or 95 more right now. So like I was like, oh shit, am I gonna be the lowest score for this game out of like 130 like verified reviewers on OpenCritic? And then I was alongside with some other 2 or 3 other publications that also gave it an 8 out of 10. And then when I saw that, I was like, oh, there's going to be some fallout. And then Drew linked me this thread on Reddit.
The Reddit.
Yeah, it says ZTGD gives Elden Ring 8 out of 10.
They
Is
sent
this the
that to
first
us,
time
too.
a Reddit thread has been made about one of our scores, Ken? Can you think of any other instance?
It's definitely not the first time we've been called out in a Reddit thread.
Yeah, that's for sure. But I think it might be the
I
first.
was called out for my, and I know people hate bringing this up, I'm sorry, but like for my first review, which was A Way Out, people were like, I can't believe he gave it a low score. I still stand by that one, but like we weren't called out as a thread. And I will say this, I read through that thread, Jay, because I was like, oh, fuck, all right, time to put on my bulletproof vest and wait into the comments. But like somebody said 8 out of 10 is pretty good, though, as long as people don't start sending death threats to ZTGD. Like what happened with Twilight Princess way back, then it's all good.
I don't remember
And,
the Twilight Princess conversation. I apologize. I don't
think it was with us.
Okay,
I
I
think it
was gonna
with
say I don't think it was us, but
I think it was somebody
us.
else.
Mhm.
I don't really. And then the OP was clearly trying to stir up shit, but was like, I don't really care what they give it. Lol. Just thought I'd share because I hadn't seen anything below a 90 before this. And then, of course, the next comment under is, "Look at us, we're so quirky."
dude, I think if we wanted to be quirky, we would have given it a lot less than an 8 out of 10.
We would fucking run ads on our site, like you stupid people. You know when you go to your site and like you don't have ad blocker on and there's no ads on the site? Maybe that's because we don't run ads on the site.
Yeah,
like it's just a very weird place because like, yeah, 8 out of 10 is not a bad score, and like I've read through the review, I've looked at other things, and like I don't know, like I just don't understand how some people see a perfect game in there.
The thing about it is that, like, I'll say this, right? Like, at the same time, while I gave it an 8 out of 10, I will not criticize anyone that gave it a 10 out of 10 in their review, because ultimately, the way the reviews function and the way the scores are indicative of what your opinion is for that particular game has to be with their personal experience and the things that they were expecting from the game, right?
Sure.
So I went into the game expecting something, and I didn't get what I was hoping for, and my experience was soured because of all these technical issues and the problems with the open world design, and that's why my score reflected as such. But at the same time, I have to spend a lot of my time on the review talking about the criticisms, because that's kind of what reviews are meant to do. They're supposed to point out the pros and cons of something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you need to take time out to go ahead and point those out, then it makes sense for you to kind of spend a lot of your paragraphs doing so. But those people that gave it a 10 out of 10, either A, they just didn't find those same issues that I had to be a problem. For example, people love filler content in open world games. They love it. They love going through all the like nook and cranny, even if it's like repeated bosses. They don't care as long as they get cool stuff at the end. So that's not a problem with them. And if they're also not someone that is not as PC savvy or kind of has high expectations of PC games as I am, then they'll see these stutters and issues about the game, and they'll be like, well, it's not. It's the problem is there, but it doesn't bother me that much. It doesn't really hamper my experience, and then they can still give it a 10 out of 10 because overwhelmingly, despite these small flaws, according to what they feel is, they still had a fantastic experience and they feel that the game is a masterpiece. So when I score games differently from other people, I'm never gonna say like, oh, you're 10 out of 10, you're 9 out of 10, you're 7 out of 10 is incorrect. Only my score is correct. That's fucking bullshit. Because all these reviews are subjective, and we only have to talk about our experiences and justify them with the score and the contents within the review. I just hope that people actually read the reviews instead of just seeing the score and then kind of go about it from that way.
I do want to read some other comments in that thread. A lot of them are kind of sarcastic stuff. Like I say, we burn them at the stake. Somebody pointed out that it's the lowest review for Elden Ring that they had seen. But then, you get comments like repetitive dungeons and poor PC performance seems like they could be fair criticism. And again, the OP sort of trying to stir up shit goes, I don't think PC performance should affect review scores if they're not playing on the day one patch with the latest drivers, especially since From told Digital Foundry to wait for the patch. Except we are now at the point where Digital Foundry has run their video and has clearly pointed out the issues.
It makes me a little uncomfortable that From asked them not to run it until the patch, and then the patch comes out and it's bad. It's like if they'd have ran it before the game came out, and I think that's why From told them not to.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me because I was surprised to not to see a Digital Foundry tech review on Embargo Day, right? I'm sure a lot of people were expecting it too. And the fact that they kind of held them off, I can respect the whole relationship between a developer and us, like the journalists and involved. Well, not journalists because we're not journalists, but like PC reviewers and coverage websites. But at the same time, like if they have all of the control, then you're doing a disservice to the consumer, right?
Yep.
So ultimately, we are for the consumers. We respect the developers, of course, and when we get our hands on these games, we give them the respect that they deserve because this is a lot of people's hard-earned time and money, right? Just kind of going into it. And when people kind of give games bad reviews as a joke, I think that's disgraceful, not just to yourself, but to everyone else in the gaming industry, because that's someone else's work, man. You might as well be seeing someone's fucking, a selfie and then talking shit about it. That's not cool. That's not something that you should be doing. That's not something that we do. But for us, when people say like, hey, you have to wait for a day one, thing, it's like, that's generally not going to happen. These reviews have to go out if they're going to mean much of anything in general. If we have the ability to put it out before embargo, we will do so even without day one patch. If they do mention something about, hey, we're going to fix stuff in day one, we will certainly mention that in the review, but we will never change a review score based on something that happens after the fact, unless unless there is some kind of extreme situation. Have we ever done that, Ken, where we change the review of a game, like the score itself?
Never, I don't think I've ever changed the score. I have gone back in and put a note.
Yes, that makes sense.
I had to make Ken have Ken figure out how to give us game a zero, like a no score at one point.
Oh yeah, because if I put a 0 in, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, so because I reviewed a game that was like saved from the bowels of hell called Ultra Core. It was actually called Hardcore originally, and like I could not get that game past a certain point, and I ended up going back to it later on, and I still had the same issues. And I was just like, well, I mean, maybe other people don't have this issue, but like to me, like this game is unfinished. Like there's a reason why it never came out originally on the Genesis or whatever it was. And so it's like, how do I even score this when I'm literally stuck at one point and like the rest of the game was going smoothly, and then it's just this one jumping segment that like no matter how I time it, it doesn't seem to work properly. I'm like, well, the game's not done. Like it was never really done. Like it's great that they put some work in to finish it, but like maybe this doesn't deserve a score. I'm like, I'm not gonna shit on it because maybe this is a problem I have and no one else seems to. But it's also a game that was never supposed to see the light of day. So at some point I went, no score. That's just the easier way to put it. But like, it's I can't think of there's games I'd go back if I were to review them again. I would probably change the score. Like I gave Resident Evil 2 Remake a 10, and the more I've learned about Resident Evil 2 the original since then, and the way that the two campaigns in the remake are just kind of the same campaign, unlike the original RE2. I'm like, yeah, I'd probably drop that at least 0.5. It's still an amazing game. I still think everyone should play it, but like now that I
Yeah,
know more about the past, it's like,
I think your review for that is perfect for what it is, Anthony, and I'll tell you why. Because I love that review, especially because you came in as a newcomer to the series without any prior knowledge, and that's why that perspective was so valuable. When it comes to games where people have been playing these kind of games or series as a generation, those reviews tend to be more frequent and more popular compared to the ones where people are going in for the first time. So I think your 10 out of 10 at that point, your pure experience from a newcomer standpoint, reflected that. And I think that's perfectly fine. And you should not have to think about having to go back and change it
no,
because of
I
some things that you
wouldn't.
didn't know about. Yeah,
I wouldn't. I wouldn't be because it is that moment in time.
yeah,
But it's one of those ones where it's like if I were to rewrite it, because I think that's the thing. Like I wouldn't go back and change a score. I would write a new review
I
because
see.
the experience changed. So it's like if I had done, and I think the best example of this is like say No Man's Sky. If I did No Man's Sky when it came out, it would have been a bad review. But if I had gone back to it later and decided on my own accord to go, hey, this is a very different game, I would write a new review because not only has the game changed, but my experience of the game has changed. And
Yeah,
that's the thing with like Resident Evil 2, the game hasn't changed, but my experience outside it has, so it changes the game fundamentally. And that's the reason why, like, when people were kind of complaining about your score on this, it was funny to me because not only was it from people that hadn't played the game because it was not publicly released, and that's a lot of this Reddit thread as well. Um, it's people that clearly don't know you. Like there's one guy says same guy gave Sekiro and Demon Souls a 9.5, so it's definitely just to generate clicks and to get himself some attention. No, that to me
that
that tells
doesn't
me this
that doesn't even
that
make any
yeah,
sense.
it's counterproductive to the thought process. Like this is a guy who clearly loves this with a passion. So I wouldn't look at them and look at your score and go, "Oh, this is just him trying to get attention." I would go, "Oh, this tells me that there's something fundamentally different about this that he doesn't like." And it could be just technical issues. It could be the repetitiveness. It doesn't matter. It just the score alone would tell me, "Oh, there's something that like he does not like about this game." Um, I'm a big fan of Earth Defense Force. I'm the one that reviews them for the website, and we're getting to the point where it's like if I review another Earth Defense Force game and it's not fundamentally different, I'm gonna be pretty tired of it because it's like they pump one out almost every year, and like there's only so many times I can give it like a 7.5 before it starts dropping off because I've seen it all before. So it's just it's a thing where it's like I look at what if you're gonna look at what the same person has written before, I think it tells you where that person's interests lie, and yours definitely says you like FromSoft games. Like the whole thing has just been so confusing to me because at least with mine, A Way Out is very because that's the one that I got the most criticism for, even though I think it shouldn't be. There's other reviews I feel like people should complain about more. Um, it was my first review, and there's nothing really like A Way Out to give some credit to that game. Um, like so, like, what could you go on? Maybe I was just trying to make a name for myself, but I wasn't. I didn't like the game, but
What's
this
the
is just
thing,
such a
Anthony? Like,
weird response. Like
it's
this
so
is
important to kind of clarify where you're coming from. That's why the first paragraph of like almost every review, I kind of tried to put it down. Like if I'm reviewing like an RPG series that's like long term, like Tales or Final Fantasy or whatever, I'll talk about like kind of my history with the series. And FromSoft as well. Like I talk about like my excitement and the whole trepidation that I might have had about it being open world and all that stuff, and the history of FromSoft as well. So that's kind of important, and that's kind of on the reviewer. Like a consumer doesn't need to have a fucking bio they don't have to have any prior knowledge to the reviewer to actually understand. But at the same time, it's the reviewer's job to kind of let them know it's like, hey, this is my experience with this kind of game series, And that's one of the reasons why I spend a lot of times in the first few paragraphs kind of lay it down. And it kind of gets annoying because, like, for example, I played a lot of Adler games and I reviewed a lot of them. Having to go through the same kind of initial structure of the paragraph or talking about how I've been playing this game for decades, it kind of gets tiresome for me. But at the same time, I have to do it like that because the first time someone reads my review is probably going to be the first time they read a review from me, from that point. So it's unavoidable, but it is what it is.
But if you're digging into somebody's past, like that guy clearly did on the website, it's just one of those things where it's like, but Demon's Souls might be worth a 9.5. Like,
but you can clearly see
weird...
that he didn't read it. He didn't read it in those reviews.
No,
he just
you're
saw
right.
His course. Yeah, he didn't.
Yeah,
take time
it's just a weird scenario where it's like I think I've never been in the scenario where I know the person and I know their tastes well enough that it's funny to me to see a review score that ignites people in the way that this one did. When I know, like, if I needed to know, like, what's a good RPG to play or what's a good, I guess, Souls-like game to play, I'd come to you, Jay. Like, you're the guy I would ask. So, like,
a lot of experience.
So for them to be like, look at this, look at me try to discredit this score, I'm like, that score should be way more obvious. And I think that the comment, I've looked through the Reddit thread, I was looking for a specific comment, but somebody had pointed out, like, don't you want to know about the PC issues? Like, we went through this with Cyberpunk. Mm-hmm. So it's funny that, a year and a bit ago, Cyberpunk came out and had all these glowing scores, and then when the game came out, everybody realized all the issues and questioned everything. And we're back at the point where it's like a bunch of 10s. Now, to be fair, some of those people probably did not play on the PC and may have not even run across those issues. I'm not saying that. It doesn't seem to be nearly as bad as Cyberpunk's. I get it. But, like, we just went through this of, like, hey, maybe we should have somebody point out the issues beforehand, even if they're going to be patched out day one. Maybe they don't get patched out day one.
Yeah, we can't review our games with the hypothetical of a possibility that might happen. We can only review them in the state that they're given to us. It's on the developer's responsibility to have the game in a state where reflects the game that people are going to be playing on day one. That's not our job. That's their job to have it in a state. And that's the thing. Like, we often don't get these games like that early. I think I got Elden Ring maybe like a week and a half, like 2 weeks before embargo date, right, Ken? Like,
yeah, I think it was closer to a week.
Yeah. So I fortunately had some time off during that week. So that's really the only reason I had the time to actually complete the game. Otherwise, there would have been no chance unless I beeline through it. So, like, long story short, just to put like a pin on this particular topic event, I will say is that always read the review and take scores with a grain of salt, because scores may not reflect what kind of experience that you might have personally. If you read my review and if you saw the elements that I was bringing up as criticism, talking about not being able to toggle VSync, no ultra wide, these stutters and stuff like that, if you look at all those things, it's like, hey, these things mean nothing to me. Then you would have known, then this review would have been much higher for you personally, right? So in that way, always read the review and don't focus too much on the score, for the love of God. It's not good for you or anyone else in the business. But now that we got that ugliness out, this whole controversy shit, which I don't particularly enjoy too much, because, I think it comes a little too hard and too fast. I know they're passionate, they're excited fans and everything, but that kind of temperament often draws in some undesirable behavior of immaturity. So that's kind of what's at showcase here. But for
I just want you to know,
yeah.
I sent every death threat I sent to you. I meant it.
Well, thank you so much. As long as it comes from the heart,
it absolutely does.
Good. But to talk about the actual fucking game instead of the controversy.
Oh, why would you want to talk about the actual game? That's stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that it's not going to get the clicks for this podcast, and we're not going to make the big
No,
Google box.
they've already checked out. They heard Ken and I's voice and went, "Oh no, it's another episode with just them two."
But yeah, so guess what, guys? Elden Ring is a great game.
Hey,
It's
that's
actually
what I
pretty
hear.
fantastic.
That's what I
Yeah,
hear on the internet.
it's pretty fantastic. The issues that I told you about, they exist and they hamper the experience for sure. But overall, it's fantastic. It's quite the achievement, to be frank. I've never gotten into a world and had so many moments where I said, "Holy shit, this is fucking huge." It's like every 5 hours, I had this exact same reaction. I unlock another part of the map. I go to like an underground, a city in the fucking sky, and I say, "Holy shit, this game is fucking huge." And I say it over and over again. It's very impressive how much they are able to fit into this game. If you combine all of Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, you could probably fit it into this one world pretty easily without any question. And it was kind of crazy in that way. And there's so much things that you can do, so many different types of like legendary armors and not legendary weapons, some really cool looking armors and all manner of skills and spells and stuff that you can get. Like I spent hours just resetting my stats, trying out new builds with different types of magic and faith related things. And I came across this final build that I made where there is this potion that you can drink that you can kind of customize. You can pick two sides, right? So one increases my magic damage temporarily, greatly. The other gives me infinite mana for a very short duration. Now I combine those two together along with a channelable spell, which looks like a fucking Kamehameha. So it's like this beam of energy that I shoot out. And I went from having to fight bosses for like, I don't know, like 5, 6 minutes sometimes because I was like hitting so low to the point where I was basically killing them in 5 seconds with that one attack. So you can get crazy different types of results as far as what you're able to experiment with and all that other stuff. And honestly, this could be the easiest and the most difficult game from FromSoft's history based on the way you decide to approach it. I posted a link for like getting strong early. And if you follow that guide, the beginning of the game is going to be mostly trivial to you. If you don't follow a guide like that, and if you kind of try to strike out on your own, you're going to have a hard time, especially early on. So it really comes down to whether or not you're willing to like look things up and kind of explore and do all the side stuff before you really start tackling the other difficult content. If you go to an area, and you can go to areas that you're currently under level for, you can tell because they'll kill you basically by looking at you, and you're gonna have a bad time. But if you're stubborn like I am, and if you feel like, oh, I can definitely do this if I play it perfectly, if I hit him 160 times, and if I don't get hit once, I could definitely beat him. And that's the kind of deranged mechanical thoughts that's going through my head sometimes. And I go through with it. It takes hours, but I do it, and it feels amazing at the end. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to spend 2 hours trying to beat one boss. You can try to go do some other things. You can strike out on some other distant land that's totally undiscovered, get some new skills, get some new equipment, and come back when you're 20, 30 levels higher, and then basically be at either even footing with the boss or be a little bit more powerful than the boss, and then have a pretty easy time at it. So in that way, it's actually pretty easy to recommend in a lot of ways. If it wasn't for the technical issues, I would say like, oh yeah, definitely try this game out, and then play through with like watching like walkthrough videos and other things of that nature. If you are not confident in kind of striking a lot on your own, there's no shame in it. We talk about how difficult games can be, but this one specifically, you have more options than any other in order to make the experience more palatable for you. And the game also has some good, like, quirky, fun design as well, where you have the spirit bells that you can ring. Basically, for any boss encounters, you can ring like a bell to summon like various different types of spirits. And if you level them up, they become so strong that I built this one particular build where I would summon my spirit, who is like a legendary warrior. He's like a rogue assassin, and I would do nothing but buff and heal him. and then he kills the boss for me. And that's 100% viable for like 99% of the bosses.
I
So you
believe I
can,
watched my friend summon a group of like peasants
Mhm.
zombies that just slowly attack the enemy.
Yeah, the summons get crazy, and that's one of the things that you discover by exploring the world and finishing these side dungeons and stuff like that too. So leveling them up and kind of getting them up to par is fun to do. The only thing that I haven't been able to do at all in this game, particularly, is the multiplayer aspect, and that's because it's partially because of my fault because I vastly over leveled everyone else through my review process. When I finished the game, I was at around level 120. At this point, I'm currently at like level 170. So I can't match with anyone online. It's just not fair for them. So I haven't been able to play any multiplayer at all, even though I want to help people like finish bosses and stuff. And that would just be me going into the boss gate along with them, shooting Kamehameha, the boss dies, and then we leave. But I can't even do that because I'm also still too powerful. So it's kind of a
Is
I
it is
shot
it
myself in the foot there.
is it
Yeah.
cross play? Like, can you jump in an Xbox or PlayStation game from the PC?
I don't know. I haven't looked into that.
Hmm. I'm just
I'm
curious.
sure that would be kind of neat because I know they have those group passwords and stuff like that that allow people to play with each other. But I'm not sure how soul levels work when it comes to matching. All I know is that I put out signs, it's kind of sat there waiting for people to summon me for like 30 minutes, 20 minutes at a time in various different points of the game. I never got summoned once. I tried to have invaders come to me, nobody ever came. So not being part of the zeitgeist has that negative aspect to it. But some of my favorite experiences in the game is I was fighting this humanoid boss, and well, not even a boss, it's like a mini boss, but he's very tough. Um, and upon my like fifth or sixth attempt, I went back and I thought to myself like, well, maybe I can try to kill him with the environment. So there's this boulder that gets summoned and kind of comes down. And I was able to lure him to the boulder and eventually slowly watch him get squashed by the boulders over and over again, laughing maniacally all the while. And when I was looking at the behavior of the boulders, I thought to myself like they kind of lean towards me. They almost look like they're making a beeline towards me, which doesn't make any sense from a physics standpoint, right? That's stupid. And I was like, well, that's just kind of gamey. That's stupid. But later down the line, I ended up in this underworld city where these little silver ball-like creatures are there. They're smaller, and they kind of attack by kind of like morphing into different types of weapons and kind of shooting them at you. And I was like, well, they kind of look like a little bit of the boulders. And eventually I come across this area, and there's this giant boulder that's hanging up there, right? And these little silver enemies that I just mentioned are dropping from that boulder. And I was like, oh, the boulder is not a boulder. The boulder is a ball of these creatures that are alive and sentient. And then eventually the boulder comes down and starts chasing me, trying to kill me, which is about as hilarious and as terrifying as it sounds like. But like, there's so many different like fun discovery and moments like that, like sprinkled throughout the game, that it was just a joy to explore. So it's one of those things where if any of those kind of moments sound interesting, and if you're kind of afraid of the whole difficulty side of it, like I mentioned, if you're not afraid to look things up, and you shouldn't be. To be frank, I think this is the age of the internet. Nobody's gonna be giving you shit. Nobody decent human being will give you shit for looking things up on the internet for you to have a better, more enjoyable experience for a video game that you bought. Okay, I don't like those people that are like, you play with a fact, casual. Fuck those people. What's important is your experience, and if you can get into like a Souls game for the first time, and you enjoy the experience because you went through a couple other steps along the way to make it more enjoyable for yourself, then all the more power to you and kudos. So in that way, that it has my recommendation. I just hope that they've figure out something to do with these PC issues, which is it's really sours the experience, but you can still play through it. It's kind of a bummer that it exists.
I saw that it's kind of based off of like Viking mythology.
There's Viking mythology stuff in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, the world tree, Yggdrasil, is
Right.
basically the center point of where my friend was. Then there's like what looked like a giant like part of the as part of the environment. Like I saw a giant face in the background.
Mhm.
But I think the thing that like was like, oh, I kind of want to play this, even though like I have played enough Souls games to know that I'm like, I'm not going to enjoy this. um, was watching him get on his horse thing and then do platforming.
Mhm.
Like the double jump on the horse sort of breaks the environment at times. Like you can just jump up on things and he's like going around buildings and stuff. And I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like that's awesome. Like I'm glad like there was that whole jump mechanic is like a fundamental change which hasn't been there before. So now they can kind of go vertical
Oh
with
yeah.
things.
They do it. They do it devilish here sometimes.
Oh really?
Where like you have to be really precise with certain. But this is all like side content. Like in the main
Yeah.
story stuff, you don't have to worry about it. But if you delve into it, there's like this part where you have to make several difficult jumps to get to the bottom. Otherwise, you just die. So there's some challenging aspect to that. But yeah, I'm very glad that it exists. Not only that, but it also works really well in combat too. Like that jump attack is so good. Like it closes the distance very quickly. It does a heavy stagger attack that does a lot of damage. The only problem is if you whiff it, then you're probably going to get punished. So you got to be careful on how to use it. But definitely a great addition to the formula. I expect all Souls-like games in the future to continue having jump buttons as a kind of like one of their main save points, along with the dodge button.
All right. Anything else besides Eternal or Elden Ring? I was almost at Eternal Ring. I was like, well, I'm really fucking going back now.
That's different
Yeah, that
from
PS2
software
game.
game.
Yeah, I'm deep cutting some From Software games now. What's up?
Well,
You
maybe it was
even do you even cookies and cream, bro?
I do. I love that game.
I kind of want to play at some point. I know it's not going to be a good time, but I want to play one of the Kingsfield game at some point. Have you played any of them? Ken?
I have.
Oh,
I
You have?
have,
How was
yeah.
it?
Dude, it's rough.
It's rough.
It's
Yeah?
really rough.
There's better experiences that are clearly the same sort of thing, but like obviously you don't get like fuck one of the is it Kingsfield or is it Shadow Tower where it's like your health is your currency?
Oh, I think that's Shadow Tower.
Yeah.
That sounds
they're
rough.
they're rough. They're what I think it's Kingsfield. You start off and if you go the wrong way you get eaten by an octopus and are dead.
That's the first one. Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah, that sounds. It's one of those things. Like I look at the Steam Deck and people are talking about like emulation on it. I'm like, what emulation stuff would I want to play? And I was like, PS4, Kingsfield.
The best From Software early games and I haven't played them, so don't quote me on this, but I've been told that the best From Software games that are like super early on to play is the point and click adventure there. The one that takes place on the train, partially, and then a boat. Oh my god, really? I'm drawing a blank right now. They had one
I'm
on
sure it'll
PS2.
come back to you.
Sure it will.
From Soft game. They made an adventure game.
Yeah, they made 3 of them. The second one you have to
Echo Knights, is that it?
Echo Knight.
There you
That's
go.
the one.
Oh.
I've been told that series is the one to play of their early stuff.
I tried to play the one on PS2. I think the one in space.
Yeah, that one's apparently the roughest.
Yeah, I did not have a good time with that game in the first like hour, so I just stopped playing it. But
Yeah, no,
that
the
was
first
ages ago.
first one I've been told is really good, except for a casino segment. Where
Holy
they
shit!
force you to play casino games, and you're like, why are you doing this to me?
I totally forgot Cookies and Cream was made by From Software.
Yeah, I wasn't kidding.
Holy shit! I forgot that. And it was Project Phantasma was the second Armored Core game. That's the one I was trying to think of.
Okay. What the heck is Cookies and Creams? The game? What kind of game is
Dude,
that?
Okay.
Adventures of Cookies and Cream is a co-op
So-
game.
Yeah, so it's you play as 2 like rabbits, and it's a platformer that like you see kind of from the top down, but you're playing as 2 characters simultaneously, Cookies and Cream. And what's neat is like the left analog stick and the shoulder buttons control Cookie, and then the right analog stick and the shoulder buttons controls Cream. But you can play it multiplayer using either two controllers or sharing one controller. And then they did something with the DS where, like, I think you control one with the stylus. It's the same game, but you control one with the stylus and then one with the like the actual buttons.
I've never even heard of this game, so that kind of sounds neat.
It's a neat little title, and it like doesn't look like anything else From Software makes.
Yeah. But Elden Ring, sold gangbusters. I think it's gonna. Is it already the best-selling Souls game, or is it not past Dark Souls 3 yet? It's gonna.
I don't know if they've put out numbers yet. I don't know.
Yeah. I would not be surprised if they break like fucking 5 million before the end of March or something like that.
I know it was
But
close
this-
to 1 million on Steam, so 5 million is not even out of the realm of possibility.
No, it certainly is not. I think it's one of the most like concurrent play games on Steam for a long time. I will say that for anyone that does play Elden Ring, add me when you beat Millennia, because that is an achievement. Holy shit! I don't think I took more attempts to beat any other boss in my gaming life than I have beating that fucking boss. And I'm not trying to like spook people into it. It's just a side boss, right? But it's like a side super boss, and the mechanics are all sorts of messed up for that fight. And when I beat it, oh man, that was satisfying. So feel free to take on that challenge and add me when you beat it, because I would love to know how you did it, because there hasn't been that many people on the internet that's actually gotten there yet. But yeah, that's it. I have some other games that I've been playing and whatnot, but I mostly want to talk about the Elden Ring today. And I gotta go.
You
pick
talk
up
about
some
them because
others.
everybody knows what I've been playing. So it's been the same thing I've been playing for the last like 2 months. So just
What? Mm, I mean, it's not a game that's even available in the States. Do I even talk about it? I mean, I imported Kuro no Kiseki, which is the latest game from Falcom, from the Trail series, and it's been challenging because my Korean is not as good as my English. So when I play this game, and I think I mentioned something similar to this round before, how I play it is that I play pretty close to TV with a chair there, and I have my cell phone there on at all times in Google Lens mode, with Translate on. And I point my camera directly at the screen of some words and sentences that I can't understand, which happens like a couple of times every 30 minutes or something like that. So maybe like 10 times every 30 minutes. So like I have to look at it, and then it translates the words for me so I can kind of get a gist. So it's not only been a good gaming experience because the new game is great. They introduced a bunch of new characters, new location, whole new battle system and all that stuff. But it's also been good for me as just kind of like relearning Korean. So, hey, gaming helps life, man.
Hey, can't complain about that.
Yeah. But yeah, that's basically it. That's the games that I'm focused on. I might review Triangle Strategy if it comes in next week. I think it's the first week of March. But
Is that game really
outside
out
of
that soon?
yeah, I think it's like March 4th or March 3rd or something like that.
Holy shit, I didn't know it was out that soon. But yeah, if Nintendo code shows up.
Yeah, and then we got the Gran Turismo coming out in March as well. That also kind of snuck up on me.
Yeah,
think
like
about
so I know some people have it, and Sony said they were going to send me a code, and I still haven't seen it, so I haven't played it. So I don't know.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully you get it and you can tell us all about it.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah,
I hope it's going back, because I've been kind of tired of this multiplayer sport shit. Like 1 through 4 were so good, so good.
Mhm. I don't think there is another racing game that I put more time into than Gran Turismo 1. And I put a lot of time into 2, but 1 and 3 are the ones that I put the most amount of time into. And boy, 1 especially was like, I don't even like racing games, and I put like over 100 hours into that game. It was so good. So I hope they kind of relight my love for racing, which hasn't really been a thing.
Yeah,
recently.
we played a shit ton of that first game. That was back when we were like mastering corners and shit between that and Ridge Racer, just playing nonstop.
Oh yeah, good times.
All right. So Anthony, did you say you had anything? Did you have something?
listen. I played Theatrhythm. Is that how you pronounce it? The Final Fantasy rhythm game.
I always thought it was
Theater-
theater rhythm.
Theater Rhythm.
Theater Rhythm.
Dude, I love
good
that
game.
game. It's like one of my favorite 3DS games.
I picked it up because obviously the 3DS shop is going to go kaput at some point, and I found copies physically for like $15 of both the first one and the second one, which is Curtain Call, and was like, all right, let's pick up both of those. And I enjoy it. There's not much to say about it. You tap to the time of the beat, and
Yep.
that's it.
You'd have like a little Cosby in you there, like tap to the time of the beat.
Yeah. That's about it. But like, fuck, I'm really impressed with how good it is. Yeah. I mean, otherwise it's been Assassin's Creed. Everybody fucking tired of hearing about it. I get it.
Hey, I played Assassin's Creed this week.
Yeah, but not Origins.
No, I went back to Valhalla.
I'm what 5? I'm 5 years away from Origins. I think at this point, or 4 years away from.
You mean Valhalla, right?
No.
Oh, you mean from when it came out? I got you.
Yes.
I thought you meant until you get to play Valhalla. I was like,
No, I mean, listen, me. That might be true too.
yeah.
I still have all the DLC in Assassin's Creed Origins. I'm just going around and I'm like, oh, that outpost I haven't finished yet. Stibbity
Dude,
stab.
Assassin's Creed games don't end.
They really don't. Like, fuck. Then there's the weekly things where I'm just like, I want to be powerful enough to take on the gods, so I can get like the legendary armor or whatever and shit, and just I can just like stop trying to steal all my time. Thank you.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed. You
Um,
can literally buy one Assassin's Creed game every year, and that's the only game you need.
Well, okay, so you jokingly say that my dad will. This is my dad's gaming stuff. He has a PS5. The only thing he has, I think, that's like for PS5. Like he'll buy a game like Ratchet and Clank. He played Ratchet and Clank. I know that, but he'll do. He plays a lot of the Ghost Recon, the first one, the Wildlands.
Yeah, that's the first.
Yeah, so he plays a lot of that multiplayer still because he didn't like the second one.
Most people didn't like Breakpoint.
Nobody liked Breakpoint, I know, but he was like, he was playing the multiplayer in that. This is a man who refused to play multiplayer for the longest time, and then now it's what he mainly plays. And he'll play like an Assassin's Creed, but the things that steal most of his time are like Neo, and so Neo, like, he has probably the most hours out of anybody because I know that a screenshot of his time went to Reddit from one of the guys he played with. And it was like 3,000 hours within the first year of launch.
Wait, Neo 1 or Neo 2?
Neo 2.
Oh, okay.
But he played both of them, and like at this point Neo's old, but like he picked up Demon Souls, played that, and now he's probably onto Elden Ring. And he's one of those guys where it's like Assassin's Creed isn't his only game, but it'll be the game that he plays when like people aren't, like his friend is not online to play Dark Souls with or whatever. So he's that type of person. I understand. Right now, it's really the only game I've played this year for Origins.
Jesus
So-
Christ, I just did the math. God damn it. I was going to say that your
Well-
dad played more Neo than I played Overwatch, and then I realized he has not.
No, I knew he hasn't.
I had to do the days to hours conversion.
And I think part of that also is leaving the console idle for a little bit, but even if you half the time, which is probably accurate, that was still a lot for a first year.
Yeah,
of a
that's.
game,
I mean,
so-
I'm at least like we're coming up on 6 years.
Yeah. He'll play the game to death. Like, he played Dark Souls 3, he finished it, and then just kept playing by, like, standing there and, like, waiting for people to invade other players, and then just killing the people that invaded. I don't get it. I don't get the appeal, but whatever.
Hey, whatever you like, man. It's all good.
But yeah, unfortunately, just not a lot. I've been trying to grab as much stuff off the 3DS store, before it ends. I know it's not. I know it's a ways away, but I can't remember when they said they're not going to take funds on the store anymore, which is kind of when the shop ends.
I think it's the end of this year.
I think it's August,
Yeah.
which is still a ways away, but still, just want to get it done as soon as possible. Got a 64 gig card, had to format it to FAT32, which you need a special program for.
Don't
'Cause
you
Windows
love?
won't do it.
Don't you love all this shit you got to do to make shit work and other shit?
Just if I can
Plug and
can't
play,
deal with the
right?
stress. I can't deal with the stress, Ken. everything has to be put on hold while I make sure everything's playable 17 years from now, as if I'm gonna give a shit then.
That's kind of my point. Is like I see all these people like freaking out about stuff would like disappear, and I'm like, dude, I ain't gonna give a shit.
Like
Like,
a terabyte drive in my PS3 just because they said, we're gonna shut down the store, and I'm like, I'm gonna make sure I have every update downloaded to the hard drive.
I'm gonna tell you this. So this week there's a bug on the Xbox store. You know how like you go into your owned games and it'll tell you how many games you have.
Yeah.
So there's a bug this week that is like making games disappear from that library, and in mine, I had over 3,200 games, and it dropped.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know. It dropped down to 2,900, and my reaction was just like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Oh, thank God I don't have to deal with that. Yeah, it's a bit different with digital stuff. I'd be more upset if it was like clearly stuff I know, but like most of your stuff is like indie shit that you get every week.
you know
To be
what?
honest.
It took me forever to finally figure out something that, because like the Xbox person reached out to me. They're like, "Hey, can you DM me a game that's missing?" I was like, "You have like 3,200 games, and you want me to figure out which one is missing?" So I finally did figure out one that was missing from my library, and it was like all the rare replay stuff. So like,
Weird that would be the one, but okay.
but it doesn't show that I own it. But if you go into the store, it says you own it. It just doesn't show up in my library. So I know it's just a bug.
Well, as long as it's just a bug, couldn't I give us?
Yeah,
some
but
shit,
like
you
when
know?
you have that many games, like digging through to figure out, like, well, I don't fucking know what's missing, and then I just kind of shrugged my shoulders. I'm like, I don't know.
Well, Ken, we're at such a privileged place in our gaming, I guess, careers.
Oh, sure.
Because, dude, it happens to me all the time where it's like, oh, that game is on sale on Steam. Let me pick it up. You actually own this game already.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. When the hell did I buy this? And that kind of shit happens to me all the time.
There's been-
PSN, Nintendo, whatever.
There's been some good ones where Ken will be like, the game's coming out this week, and then like, oh, Ghost Point 1.0 looks cool. I just remember that one being one of the ones, and I'm like, oh, yeah, and then I like open up my Steam, I'm gonna add this to my wish list. Oh, I own it.
Yeah.
I don't remember how I bought that, but okay.
Dude, I'll see games like people like put screenshots on like Twitter or something. I'm like, oh, that game looks cool. And I go into I have achievements for it. I'm like, oh shit, I already played this game. My bad.
Everything's
the
just
words,
like a drunken.
And the words early onset dementia comes to your mind. You're like, fuck.
You're about to leave. You go to like pull out your keys from the little drawer at the desk near, and you just find a frying pan. You're like, oh no.
Yeah, I mean, this all checks out. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation to be in, and not only that, like with the amount of crazy games that we all kind of want to play coming out, like so many games came out in February that I want to play that I haven't even touched thanks to Elden Ring and Chrono Kiseki. Like I want to play Monarch, I want to play Adderley or Sophie 2, and a bunch of other games. I mean, Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remastered. That's the Pixel Remaster of my favorite game of all time, and I haven't even touched it. You know,
So
it's like, oh shit.
Just be warned that if you go into that, you will sit through that credit sequence while credits do not play.
I heard about that. That's funny.
It's 6 minutes of just sitting there watching the mechs go, and it really loses its importance when you're like, I don't know what's supposed to be happening.
What a thing to miss during testing. I imagine it's probably a directorial preference compared to an
I
actual
think
thing
it's
that's missing.
well. I think what happened is that nobody works for the studio that was in that list, right? Like all the names that came up are no longer are relevant.
That's true.
But the smart thing to do would be to put the names of the people that worked on this remaster.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And it's not like things are like totally irrelevant. Like, yeah, the script was still written by someone, even if they weren't with the studio. They still wrote it. Like, it's video games. Unfortunately, they don't make any money off of once the game is out. They make money as a person that works on it. It's not like movies where you get paid because you get what is it called? Residuals.
Residuals.
Yeah, royalties. Yeah. So it's like, it's weird that they took the names out. But I the same thing, Jay. Like I'm like, oh, I wanted to play the new Horizon. And I'm like balls deep in or Assassin's Creed Origins, and I go, it'll happen eventually. I'll play it.
What gave you the motivation to play Assassin's Creed Origins in February of this year? Like, what are
I'll
you
tell
doing?
you. Here's exactly what happened. All right, I'm like, all right, I have a huge backlog, and I need something to cleanse a palate, right? Like, I'm like, I need something that makes me want to play the video game again, just a video game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play The Evil Within. I pop The Evil Within in, and I'm like, I fucking kind of hate this game. Is how I felt
Really?
about it.
Oh,
So
that's
I
sad.
love the aesthetic, but the fucking sort of shitty stealth, and like I'm like, this game doesn't play fantastic. Obviously, I'm playing the first one.
Yeah.
I've heard the second one is
Oh,
far
way better.
Oh
Way
yeah,
better.
100% better.
But I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm going
So
through
good.
that village. I'm like, I have to keep lighting bodies on fire. I'm like, I'm like, I'm running out of ammo. They don't want to give me the stuff, and it's like, I get it. Like, this is survival horror, but I'm like, this is like just like really not great stealth game. Like, I'm having flashbacks while I'm playing it to playing Dark, which is one of the worst games ever made. And it's not anywhere near the quality of Dark was. Dark is so bad, but like, I'm just like, this is a stealth game, but it's like, it wants me to engage with everything, and like, a stealth game really shouldn't make me have to engage with fucking everything. Like, I should be able to stealth past, but like, these enemies don't really move, and I have to kill them all to get the things, and it's like, alright, I'm not really enjoying this. I said, fuck it, Assassin's Creed Origins. Let's give that a shot. Because I just needed something. And I feel like everybody gets it, but you get burnout on playing
Yeah.
stuff. And so Assassin's Creed Origins, I pick up because I'm like, you know what? Ryan won't shut up about this fucking series. He's not here, so I can make fun of him. Ryan won't shut the fuck up about the series, but he also said, like, play Origins first because of reasons. So I'm like, alright. So I'm playing Origins, and what I kind of expected to be sort of mindless, and at this point it is, because I'm just not doing the missions, ended up being this, like, really interesting game about a really interesting character, and I'm surprised, because honestly, I know a lot of people liked Ezio. I could not give less of a shit.
That's a shame. Ezio is the best.
Ezio's good, and I liked the story surrounding Ezio, but Ezio as a character, I just never had any feelings towards. I wasn't sad when he died.
Oh, spoilers!
Shit.
Oh,
Well,
fuck off.
Anthony, thank you. Now I don't have to play those games. Thank you. I appreciate
No, well, to be fair, it is a lifetime that you watch of that character. But it's like, I don't feel anything towards him, and I don't feel anything towards Altair, or is it Jacob?
Oh, you're
Was the
talking about
character in
3?
Yeah, and I don't give a shit about the
Connor.
character in
Connor's in 3.
Connor. I don't remember. I don't give a shit about. I mean, there you go. Obviously, I didn't give a shit about Connor. I don't give a shit about most of the characters because, as much as they're good characters, they were tools to drive the plot forward and nothing else. And in Origins, which I know was kind of the reboot of the series, Bayek is more interesting than anything going on. His story, while basic of a story of revenge, becomes far more complex as it fits in with the events of the world. And I just like, they wrote a really amazing character that I feel for, and part of that is the acting job. And I'm not shitting on the people that did the acting for every other Assassin's Creed character. It's just like, they made me care about this character who lost his son. And like, I don't have a son. I shouldn't feel anything about that. And just it ended up hooking me. Like, I honestly, Jay, I expected to have bounced off of Assassin's Creed Origins by now. I expected to be like, we're done. Like, I did the things. I'm good. Or I'd like try to beeline just the main story. But like, some of the side stuff has been interesting. I like the actual combat feels good. I'm kind of shocked because, again, normally I bounce off of these games at some point. Like, they're either my filler game where I'm like, I just need a fucking mindless game to play right now, or they I play them for a short burst and then go, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, man. And this series hasn't been for me since like Assassin's Creed 2, but I'm very glad that people are still enjoying it. Like Ryan, for example, seems to really like the series overall, and you're getting introduced to it all over again, and you're having a good time. So I'm
So,
glad to hear that.
I guess, like, because you haven't been here, like, the thing that I've been enjoying the most is that, and the thing that I enjoyed about 2 and 1, even though 1, like, is a slog, of a game, the sci-fi elements, and the sci-fi elements really sort of just were abandoned kind of at one point. Because they really seem to want to wrap up Desmond's story in Assassin's Creed 3, and then by the time you get to 4, you're like, wait, just make a historical fiction. And Origins decided, like, no, we're not done with that. And in a brilliant twist of writing, have kind of fixed the issues that arose when they fucking tried to drop that aspect. And going through these ancient temples to find like this futuristic computer from the past that like shoots out a hologram and talks to you in like modern day English and is saying stuff to you, and like they even say like, oh, this isn't for him, this is for the person that is in the Animus, that is experiencing his memories. Like, we are not talking to him. He is just here right now. He won't understand.
Okay.
And it's just like, what the fuck? Like, you should have never dropped this stuff.
So it leveled up your intrigue a bit and kind of like pulled you back in, is what it is then, right?
Yeah, like I think they could have gotten away with just the historical part in this game still. Like, I think they could have won me over just by having Bayek be a really good character and having a really interesting story, because it's taking place during the time where Rome is now trying to take over Egypt after the Greeks have already done so. And like, that's fascinating stuff. But yeah, they're like, no, we're also going to lean heavily into the sci-fi stuff that we really tried to lean away from for a while. Like, Assassin's Creed 4 has some weird Abstergo is now Ubisoft and they're making Assassin's Creed games meta narrative, and you're just like, why? Just fucking let me play the pirate shit. Get this fucking nonsense out of here. And it was there still in like Unity and Rogue, but it never really wanted to lean into that stuff because I feel like I think they probably felt like they fucked up so bad in 3 that it just wasn't worth leaning into, and they were going to try to do something different. And no, in this game, there's a character with an animus that is portable, and she's in the middle of Egypt in a tomb, going back in the memories of a character and slowly having the bleed over effect. I don't know how much you got into the original series, but the bleed over effect was something that they consistently leaned into and never paid off on. And like, they pay off on it in this game. And I was like, holy shit. They're doing the things they promised fucking what feels like 20 years ago.
Okay, that sounds promising. I'm probably never gonna play this game at this point. I'm
heard it.
more likely to play Odyssey than Origin because I heard it's better.
It
But,
is
yeah.
a better world, because obviously Egypt is a desert, so there isn't going to be too much of there's mountainous areas, there's water shoreline areas, and then there's desert. But I've been told by Ryan that the combat is more deliberate in this game than it is in Odyssey. Like, you parry, and you throw guards off by parrying at the right time. And not in the same way that the original Assassin's Creed just kind of parried and then killed a man. You can't just stab everyone in the back with your hidden blade because it won't do enough damage. You have to power that up. There's a ton of side quests. Like, some people have said that, like, it clearly took inspiration from The Witcher. I don't know how true that is because I haven't played The Witcher, but
Okay, well,
I feel
yeah.
the combat is more deliberate, kind of like a Dark Souls, where you're dodging out of the way.
To me, at this point, Assassin's Creed is like a monolith, and
yeah,
I don't even want to think about it. I mean,
honestly, Odyssey, I think, is like technically takes place before Origins, so
Yeah,
Just play the ones that are interesting to you.
that's what I mean. Like, there's so much shit going on. But speaking
Yeah.
of palate cleansers and old games, have any of you guys played the new Resident Evil 4 HD pack that came out, finally released after many years in
The
development?
fan patch?
Yeah, the 4
No,
HD patch.
I've watched it. I have not played it.
I don't
Oh
think I
man.
own Resident Evil 4 on the PC.
So it's not so you don't have the one copy you need out of like 4 other copies you probably do have.
Oh, I absolutely have multiple copies of Resident
Yeah.
Evil 4. I just don't think I
I-
have it on
I
PC.
have the
That
PC one.
PS2 version, that is
Oh,
some
yeah.
hot jank.
It's not great. But I will say, like, man, like when I was waiting for like the big stuff in February to drop, I just took a little bit of time and did a full playthrough of Resident Evil 4 HD, and boy, that game is still so much fun. And I'm so glad because it's one of my favorite Resident Evil games of all time, but also the one that I feared that might have like aged the poorest out of them all, because it was that kind of grandfather of the third person shooter, right? So the whole not being able to move while you're shooting and all these other things in between, I thought it might have been really clunky and not fun to play, but I had a blast playing Resident Evil 4. And the HD work that they did was tremendous. The attention to detail to every single texture in the game, the character models. Oh man, that's what the HD remaster should have been compared to what we ended up getting with all these different problems that had with it. So if you're interested in revisiting Resident Evil 4 at some point, definitely play with that before the whole Resident Evil 4 remake maybe gets announced.
That implies I played Resident Evil 4.
I
Then
played,
that's the way to play it.
yeah, I played Resident
I-
Evil 4, and it's. I tried to go back to that HD version, but those controls just,
They introduced another control scheme, Ken, which I used. It was better.
Oh, so they in this PC like mod they added a new control scheme.
I believe so. It's the one that I use. You actually use the triggers to shoot now. So that, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, no, I remember. I went back to that 360. Like they re-released it on Xbox One and PS4, and I tried that, and I was like, man, this control sucks.
Yeah, I used one of the newer control schemes, and it was much, much better. It felt more natural. Pressing one button to take out your knife to swing, pressing the L2 button to take out your gun, right trigger to shoot. All that felt modern. Of course, you still don't have the ability to move while you're shooting, but using the right analog stick to aim your fucking gun, makes a whole lot of difference when you're used to that muscle memory for the last decade and some change.
Well, not only
So-
that, but I've heard the rumors that the remake of 4 that Capcom is working on is actually going to be more like the original videos of it.
Oh, as in like the spooky, scary stuff.
Yeah,
I
like
guess.
the Leon in the what was that in that house where he was like losing his mind and shit.
At that point, is it even a remake then?
That's
If
what
it's
I
gonna be
said.
completely different? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's strange.
I don't know. Maybe they'll mix them together, kind of like Night Dive did with Power Slave. Mix them Saturn, PlayStation version. I don't know.
Yeah, just add new areas to the game. Well, he's infected with the Las Plagas. He starts hallucinating and seeing all this weird shit. It could be like a big section of the game that he needs to go through. I think that would probably make more sense. Compared to what they did in Resident Evil 3 remake, where they actually literally took out content, add more stuff here. But to be fair, they also still added some content for Resident Evil 3 HD and took out some. But the stuff that they took out was more considerable compared to what they added. So hopefully
Yeah.
they'll learn from that lesson and they'll do Resident Evil 4 justice. I think they recognize how important that game is to the franchise compared to Resident Evil 3, which originally when it came out was still kind of like one of those leap year spin-off, maybe not even a sequel kind of game, compared to what Resident Evil 2 was, which was like a monumental release for them. So we'll see what that goes, but still no official word yet. So
Yeah. All right. Anything else, Anthony? I haven't even talked about video games yet. What's
No,
up?
you go. I got nothing.
All right. I'll try to go through fast. I know we're already like an hour and a half in. We still got more stuff to talk about. Speaking of going back to older games, I finished Cyberpunk. I like that game a lot, actually.
I'm glad this game got don't get me wrong. I'm glad this game got a second chance. It's irritating that this game just shouldn't have been released when it was.
No, I feel like this game just came out. And when it
Listen, hold on. That's the Switch mentality. You can get fucked. No, it's new to me.
No, I know that it's been broken for like a year and a half, but like now that it is in a state where it feels good to play, I really enjoy. And like Jay, like you were mentioning earlier, it's really succinct. You think it's like this big 70, 80 hour game? Nah, I beat it in 22 hours.
Oh, nice. That's a good time for that game.
Yeah, and I did quite a bit of side stuff. I didn't do it all. Like, I have a save file that is like right before the final mission, and there's still some side stuff that I want to go do. But I did complete the entire Pan Am quest sideline,
Oh,
which I think,
that's fun. Yeah.
yeah, like the Pan Am stuff was awesome. I didn't finish Rogues. I need to go back and finish that sideline. And I think there's another third big sideline, might be Judy, that I need to go finish. But I did like half of each of those. I did finish the Pan Am one.
Yeah, there's a lot of side content, like you said, but none of them feels like they're necessary to the overarching story arc. There are some things that add to it, like for example, like some of the ending stuff and people that come to help during like the big final mission
Mhm.
might change depending on the quests that you do. But outside of that, like you don't really have to do all that stuff. So people that are concerned about this game gonna take like 80 hours or something like that, they don't need to worry about that. It can be a very lean experience if you want it to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you mainlined it, you could probably do it in about 15 to 17 hours.
hmm I beat
Uh,
mine in about 30, and I did mostly everything.
yeah, and the thing is I really, really like this world. I like this game. Holy shit, the ending I got was really dark. Like,
Without spoiling it, can you give me a hint as to what it was?
I trusted Hanako.
Oh, fuck!
Yeah,
Oh, you did that? Okay.
yeah,
All right, okay.
yeah. That was a pretty dark ending, I gotta say. And then the credits really like hit me, where
Yeah.
the messages are playing over the credits. Yeah.
It's rough, man. None of the endings are particularly happy, I'll say, but that is by far the darkest and most depressing one of them all.
Oh yeah, that was a super depressing ending. I was really when you're in the testing facility, like I felt that, like they just kept doing it and kept doing it. I was like, is this shit gonna go on forever? But no, I really enjoyed that game. I think it's finally in a good place to play on the consoles. If you've got one of the new consoles, I think it's. I love the design of that world. Like I love driving around on a motorcycle and just looking at all the stupid billboards and like that game. Oh, I wish that game had launched like that and not had to take a year and some months to get there.
Yeah, I think the idea that the game is like recently released, especially for console gamers, makes a lot of sense to me. Luckily and unluckily for me, I played the PC version early on. It was just playable enough for me to finish.
Yeah, that's the
But
problem.
yeah, it still soured my experience greatly. If you thought my Elden Ring score was bad, if
Yeah.
I reviewed that game would have been slaughtered by the amount of crashes and unfinishable quest lines that appear during my playthrough. But overall, I still also enjoy that game. And like you said, we have all these patches and fixes and everything. I'm very excited to go back in for like another playthrough using a different build, using like a different origin storyline, and kind of going with different things.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I think I'm gonna go back through and do a bunch of the side stuff because when you beat the game, they give you a bunch of cool shit.
they do.
Yeah, so I think I'm just gonna go do my side quests with that cool shit because I want to play around with that gun.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you unlock. There's some. Did you get the gun, by the way? There's like a handgun that automatically locks into people's heads.
Yes, it's one of the tech guns, right?
Yes, one of the tech guns. It actually speaks to you and stuff like that. After you get a certain point, it actually upgrades depending on how well you use it.
Yeah, that thing is cool, man.
It is. It is. And the funniest thing about that gun is that at some point you can choose to let it keep killing people, or you can kind of choose to immobilize people. And at that point, I think it just targets their genitals instead of targeting their heads,
Jesus
which is
Christ.
amazing.
I got the samurai sword.
RoboCop gun.
I got the samurai sword late in the game, and man, that thing was brutal.
Oof. Yeah, dismemberment everywhere.
Oh
man. It's
yeah,
not-
like heads rolling downstairs and
Mhm.
shit. I was like, God damn, this game, it's so good.
It's interesting. Also, I want to shout out to Keanu's performance was excellent in that game. I thought he was great as Johnny Silverhand.
Absolutely, I all the way to the end, I was like, this dude,
Mhm.
whew, There's some lines in there that are just like, holy shit.
Yeah, he played a character that I felt like really showed his range as an actor, because you never felt like you could really trust him completely, but at the same time you felt like underneath all that bravado there was still something there, something that's like something that goes beyond his, like, anti government and all these other things, like the fuck the world kind of nonsense. And he really brought it to life, man. He really went in there. Some of those monologues that he had, like after I listened to some of those monologues and then like chose like whatever topic that I wanted to talk to, I had to take like a second to center myself because all that shit that was going on. It gets crazy.
Yeah. CD
Is this
Projekt.
going to be one of your game of the years?
That
this-
was
this
what was
year?
funny is like if this game would have been in this state
Yeah.
when it launched, it
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
would have been a game of the year for me.
Yeah, it's wild, man. It's crazy that these developers and everyone that works so hard on these games end up being slaves to kind of like their corporate master, to the degree where they know that the game is incomplete, but they still have to put it out there anyway, despite the fact, and hope for the very best. And it bums me out. I felt like it happened to Elden Ring as well, as this one, as it did with Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk specifically because it's so well documented about all the shady dealings and all this weird shit that was going on in the back end. I just want developers to be proud and happy of the game that they released on launch. That's what I want, and I want to experience the original artistic designs of these really incredibly talented people in the best state possible. Because I want to stop having these controversial fucking topics about technical issues and other things of that nature. There's always going to be some problems here and there, but when it comes to the point where it sours the experience significantly, then you got to take a step back and delay the game as much as you need, and then put it out when it's ready.
100%. The No Man's Sky effect in modern gaming.
Yes, sir.
Cyberpunk was bad, but man, the way Sony threw Hello Games under the bus for No Man's Sky when they forced them to push it out, that was rough.
They made it right, but still a messed up situation.
Yep. I'm just glad that Cyberpunk is finally a good video game. You should play it. It's probably really cheap.
They put it on half price or whatever. Like it was like $30 Canadian at one point, because of the new patch coming out.
Yep, and
So,
they
it may
gave like a
still be.
5-hour trial on the Xbox, I think. So you could just go play 5 hours of it, which you should, because it's really good. We talked about racing games earlier, but I did play a little bit of Grid Legends, which everybody forgot was coming out when I mentioned it a week ago. That's Grid with like full motion video story cutscenes.
Yeah, I don't need that in my my racing games. Thank you.
I'm gonna be real honest with you. There's 36 chapters in the story mode. I am on chapter 15, and I've already started skipping them. Like, I don't understand the point of the full motion video cutscenes. Like,
Isn't it at least funny, like those Red Alert full motion videos?
no, dude, it's like super serious.
Oh no! Why did they do that?
I don't know. And like, another really thing that's really driving me crazy is the cutscenes are super fucking quiet. Like, I have
So
to.
they can never match Tim Curry's.
Well,
the
yeah.
last place the capitalism has been tainted.
Dude,
Base.
Command and Conquer Red Alert's cutscenes are like the reason to play those games. They're so good. But this is not. What kills me is the game wrapped around it is really fucking good. Like, the control, it's an arcade racer, so don't go into it thinking you're getting a Gran Turismo or a Forza Motorsport. You are getting a, Ridge Racer, Forza Horizon. You're getting an arcade handling racing game that feels really good to play. It's got a lot of variety in both tracks and cars. Supports 120 hertz, which is real nice in a racing game. Visually, it's not like on par with like the Forza games and especially Gran Turismo, but it looks good. But I can't get into the story. It's also got a very confusing menu, which is weird because Codemasters like cut their teeth on really cool and slick menu systems back in like the Dirt days. But the menu system in this is just a bunch of blocks that's confusing. I don't care much for it.
Let's blame EA.
Yeah, it was weird to see EA be the first logo and then Codemasters be the second logo. That was weird. But
Did EA bite them?
yeah, EA bought Codemasters, I think it was about a year ago, maybe?
Oh, okay. They're fucked then. Okay.
Yeah, and this is the first game that they've put out since EA bought them, I believe.
The way that Jay said, "Oh, they're fucked." Then never mind.
Yeah, and how long before Codemasters is working on like a Need for Speed game or something? I don't know. All right, Anthony, I'm gonna go through the indie games.
They're gonna do the driving segments in the next Battlefield.
Yeah.
Nah.
I'm gonna go through the indie games. I know you're excited for the one. The first game I played is called Clousy.
Am I?
Clousy?
Oh, right. Yes, I am. Never mind.
Clousy is a first-person game.
Yeah, is that the one where you raise clouds?
No. You have a cat. Maybe
yeah,
you
but
do...
it's like a cloud farming simulator.
Maybe that's what happens eventually. I gave up after I told the cat to go 40 different places in the tutorial.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the one I looked up last week when you said it was coming out. It's like some weird cloud farming simulator. just to really put that into perspective, you are raising clouds.
Yeah.
Hold up. Oh, did I mishear you, or did you say you're raising clouds?
You heard
Clouds,
me, right?
yeah.
Clouds in the sky.
Yeah.
Most clouds float along in the sky, but these adorable fluffy clouds need to be taken care of in Cloud Daycare. Explore the world, collect delicious fruits, and cook tasty meals in this cute and wholesome farming game.
You sounded like a announcer on The Price is Right.
Yeah.
who couldn't work up the enthusiasm.
Except that, yeah, I can say I sounded like an announcer on The Price is Right who just got message that his wife is leaving him.
Yeah. And it's all over the down. All right, the next game is Explosive Candy. Sorry, Explosive Candy World. I apologize for.
Is this just a Candy Crush clone?
No. So think.
Oh, that's good.
So you got a little dude on the screen, and think Angry Birds, where you pull the left stick to make him bounce, like a slingshot kind of motion. And the objective is to jump him over obstacles to make it to the candy cane.
I don't hate this concept.
So, the visuals are weird. They're like this, I don't know, like brown, opaque kind of look. It's not colorful at all. I think I made it through
a game about candy.
I think I made about 5 levels. I think I was about done. Dr. Oil is a bad video game. Don't play that game. It feels like a really bad platformer. Pyramid Quest was kind of interesting. Think of it like a... What's the word I'm looking for? Like a little puzzle game where you're trying to get past traps to get to the end of the level kind of thing. And each level's got different stuff. It's got like this...
Are these like Game Pass games that you're playing? Like, how are you even playing these?
So every week, the ID at Xbox team sends me codes for all of the week's indie games.
Okay, gotcha.
So
got it. Cool.
So Pyramid Quest is like the look of it is like claymation. So I was really into kind of the design of the game. The jumping feels a little stiff. The world seems a little chaotic at times, but I actually enjoyed this game. Moto Rotor MC. I think it was like an old TurboGrafx game or something, because it feels like it's being emulated within the game itself. I don't know for sure, but it is a top-down kind of like RC Pro-Am style racing game. It's very hard. You can shoot missiles at each other. Epitasis, or Epitasis, I don't know how you say that, is a first-person adventure game where... Anybody ever see The Arrival with not the one everybody loves, but the one with Charlie Sheen?
Oh yes, I saw that one. Yeah,
So,
that's the one that's really slow paced, right?
Yeah, the Alien movie.
Yes.
Yeah, so at the beginning of this game, it's the same thing. You work at like one of those satellite stations. You get this message coming down through the satellites from the stars, and then you go investigate it first-person style, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
God damn, what the hell was this game? Brainstorm Tower Bombard. Hold on. I have to remember what this game was. That's never a good sign when you don't. Oh, this is the one where you move the dot around and reflect bullets. It's kind of like a Atari 2600 style visual thing. It was okay. I'm skipping over that one until I come back. Light Up the Room is a puzzle game where you play a light up cube, and you can't, like, you literally start in like a black void, and as you move, you uncover the ground, and you have to jump to avoid obstacles, but you can't see the path that you're going on. So it's kind of like a trial and error. You can see like the spikes, but you can't see where you need to jump to avoid them until you kind of hover over it and light up the area. So
I hope it has a good fast respawn.
absolutely, yeah. It's a quick, like, you die, boom, you're right back in it.
Okay, good. You need that for that kind of a game.
Yep. And the last game, Anthony, we talked about this last week. Tux and Fanny.
Tux and Fanny.
Tux and Fanny.
There's a picture in the chat.
Okay.
Um.
Oh.
So
alright.
this game looks like it was built in portrait mode on your phone.
Okay.
And it's a point and click game where these two characters are trying to blow up a soccer ball, and that's it. Like, you just walk around clicking on things, and then
Wait, that's their singular objective for the entirety of the game.
yeah, there's a deflated soccer ball outside, and they talk to each other, and they don't speak English. They're like that's the conversations they have between each other.
All right.
And you go into the house, and
Oh, they're running this podcast.
you just click on like, you have a score that you have to meet, and you just go around and click on the thing. Dude, this game is weird. This game is really
So what you're
weird.
saying is I'd probably enjoy it.
This feels like an Anthony game. I ain't gonna lie.
Is it funny? Does it have like good humor at least?
I didn't laugh at all. I found it to be just
Oh,
kind
it sounds like it's definitely
Oh,
up my
no.
alley. I'd have a good laugh at it. Just so
Oh, no.
fucking weird it is.
Yeah, no, I don't. I did boot up my Switch and load up Majora's Mask, but I haven't played it yet. I heard they fixed a bunch more of those games in the latest update. So,
Was Majora's Mask on Switch?
yeah, in the
Yeah,
expansion.
the expansion pack.
Yeah, the N64 version.
Oh, right. Oh, I never actually tried out I never bought the expansion pack, first of all. But how are the N64 games on the Switch?
They were rough. They fixed them with each update. As they add a new game, they usually update the emulator. But at launch, it was bad. Like, Ocarina of Time was like missing textures, and
What?
the button mapping on the controller is bad. Like, the N64 is a hard controller to map, but the way they did it is really bad. So it's not good.
Jay, do you did you see the screenshots of the Zelda comparison?
The
Ocarina
the
of
water
Time.
temple, right?
The water temple.
Yeah.
I have not. Do you have it?
Okay, so I can explain to you while I look it up. It is the room where you fight Shadow Link in Ocarina of Time,
Okay.
which is a very standout room because of the tricks that they did.
Yeah, the very iconic fight. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna disappoint you, son.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a comparison photo out there. I've got it if you want to see it.
The thing that kind of surprises me about this is that N64 emulation was perfected like a decade ago. Why is Nintendo themselves having trouble with this?
Yep. I put the screenshot comparison. The left is the expansion pack.
No,
That's-
the right is the expansion.
Oh,
pack.
sorry, the right is the expansion pack. That's right.
The ride looks like it's on ice instead of water now.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
bad.
No
Oh, man.
reflections. The fog, the stunning lack of fog makes the room very clearly have an end. Which is something that the fog sort of hid. It looks like an endless room. Yeah, it's apparently been fixed.
You know,
So that's
Yes.
good, but
now that I'm looking at it, now I understand why Nintendo hates emulation so much. They just don't know how to do it. So they themselves feel inferior to the other people that are doing it, so that's why they're against it. It all makes sense now. I'm sorry
But
for making fun of you, Nintendo, for all these
but-
years. You're just, is feeling bad about it. I get it.
The funny part is, like, they've shown in the past they can do good emulators. I just don't understand why they feel the need to make a new emulator every time, because it's like the NES emulator for the Wii was good, and then they built a new one for the Wii U and it was bad.
I don't.
Why?
Dude, the when you talk about Nintendo, you just kind of have to throw your arms up and go, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Man, Ocarina of Time on N64 looked good, guys. Reflections. That's some RTX reflections right there. Ray tracing. Nice.
Hey, I you know when people started first talking about ray tracing, I saw that on forums. They're like, dude, if you go back, there's RTX in like PlayStation 1 games. I'm like, that doesn't just mean it reflects, genius. That's not how that works.
I love people and the funny things that they say sometimes.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about what's coming out this week. Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5. We've got Elix 2. That's coming out of nowhere.
Oh, they made a sequel to that game?
Yeah, and it's coming out
The
this week.
sequel's out. Yeah, I didn't realize it was that soon.
Yeah, it's out
I
on
did-
Tuesday.
I didn't know the original game did well enough to warrant a sequel. I knew the game
sold-
came out, but
I mean, it's one. You questioned how any of the games from that studio fucking makes it that far, but like Gothic 2, Gothic, they got to fucking Gothic 4, which is Arcania, which didn't sell well, and then they did Risen, and you're like, did Risen do well enough to make a sequel? Yes, they got 2, and now Elex, and you're like, I suppose Elex sold okay, I guess, but they also sold it at like $50 brand new, so that probably
this
helped.
is the studio that made the game with the taint in it, right? You know what I'm talking about, Ken? The taint.
The taint.
Yeah, it's like one of the dark forces, and they every time they have to mention it, they say the taint is coming for us all, and it was very funny. I think it was a studio.
Is this Bound by Blood? Is that what you're thinking of?
No, I don't think it's Bound by Blood.
Bound by
It's one of the-
Flame.
No, you're talking Two Worlds, I believe.
Oh, Two Worlds.
Two
no.
Worlds is not the
Two
same.
Worlds. Oh, it's not the same
stu-
developer?
different studio.
No.
Okay.
But that was a good guess because it is that same
Euro
jank
jank.
cloth that it's been cut from.
Yeah, Eurojank.
Fair enough. Hey, man, more props to them. Hopefully, the niche fan base of this series is going to enjoy the sequel.
You would probably love the first game if it wasn't so fucking unfair.
Yeah, it's broken difficulty wise. It's not
Like-
even fun.
Like combat is so unfair to the player. Things just kill you, and there's no real way around it. But like the world concept was interesting. But yeah, like just
Okay.
fuck, the enemies do way too much damage. And
I
you're like,
wanted
"Ah."
to like the first one, but it did not want me to like it. So,
Yeah.
Far Changing Tides, which is the sequel to Far Lone Shores. If you've not played either one of those, go fucking play them. They're so good.
What are these games, Ken?
So they're like little adventure games. Basically, the first one is you on this big boat, and you're going left to right, and throughout the journey, you've got to pick up things, repair the ship, figure out how to give. It's a really chill game.
That sounds jolly. What was the name of the first game?
Far Lone Sails, and then the second one's Far Changing Tides, and Far Changing Tides is gonna launch into Game Pass. So
Oh,
Yeah.
Fire Lone Sails looks pretty cool. A vehicle adventure game.
yeah, I love the
Very
first
nice.
one. I beat it in like 2 sittings. It's not a long game, but I really enjoyed it.
Nice. I'm
Um,
digging the art style too. I'll check it out.
Yeah, cool game. Little Orpheus, I don't know what that is. Ghost Runner, Project Hell, DLC for Ghost Runner.
DLC. Okay.
A musical story, Legend of Ixtona, which is Anthony's favorite Chemco RPGs, and Ryan's Rescue Squad, so another Ryan game coming out. PlayStation 5, pretty much the same stuff. We also have Babylon's Fall. Hey, there's another game nobody remembered was coming out.
Oh yeah. the more I see of that game, the less I want to play it.
Yeah,
That bums me out because the Platinum joint. I love Platinum.
I love Platinum too sometimes.
And then there's the Korra and the other.
Yeah, we went through it last week, and like they have more. They have way worse misses and a lot more misses than they do hits. You start breaking it down.
And then
Yeah,
go
but
ahead.
their hits are still good though.
Their
So,
hits are very. When they hit, they hit
you gotta
good.
go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Gunborg Dark Matters, and then Gran Turismo 7.
Ooh, baby, that's the big one, huh?
Yep, that's out on Friday. Xbox One, PS4, a lot of the same stuff. But we also got Conan Chop Chop, Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. My big game for the week, Shadow Warrior 3 is out, baby.
Oh, that's finally coming out.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, that's my jam for the week. 35 millimeter, not based on the Nick Cage movie, I'm sure. What Lies in the Multiverse? PlayStation, anything different?
Is that a question or is that a game?
That's a game.
Okay.
And that's it. That's all the same stuff from PS4, Xbox One. There's so many fucking systems, I can't keep track of them. But now we get to the fun one, the Nintendo Switch. Anthony, I've been disappointed that we have not had some like straight up hentai games lately. Maybe we'll change that this week.
Oh, please don't do this every week. It's just like I just don't.
All right. A lot of the same stuff we've also mentioned. We've got Primordia, Zombie Rollers, A Pinball Heroes, Ambition Record, Catch the Stars, Counter Delta, The Bullet Rain. Boy, that sounds like the sequel to oh fuck, what's that game? The Chinese third-person shooter. Anthony, help me here.
I don't know, because the first thing that popped in my head was Tetsuo the Bullet Man.
Gene Rain. Gene Rain.
Oh, God!
That's the one I was trying to think of.
I could go my whole life without thinking about that game again, even though that, speaking of games that turned it around.
Dexter.
Not writing a new review for it.
Dexter Stardust Adventures in Outer Space. Menseki Genius. Old Coin Pusher Friends. Our Battle Has Just Begun, Episode 2. Oh, sweet. We got some Pretty Girls Breakers. I'm gonna butcher the fuck out of this name. Shio Rinoko Toha Dark Reflections.
And the template's made.
You know, and failures were made too. Holy shit, that's a hard word to say.
Did you know that Ken is white?
I thought I gave it away already. The Uncertain Last Quiet Day, Ink Cipher, Operation Zeta, Quest for Infamy, What Lies in the Multiverse, which we've already talked about, and yes, you're correct, Jay. Triangle Strategy is out on Friday.
Yeah. I will say that I actually wasn't thinking about reviewing that game until I played their newest demo, which carries over to the actual game, and it's like the first 3 chapters. And I'm on board with what I played there. It's got the right amount of like strategy when it comes to like the combat. Like you have to be kind of methodical about your placements and how you want to handle things. But what interests me more is the whole I guess political and socio-economical intrigue that's going on. They really take a lot of time to do the world building, and for these kind of games where you have to choose sides and choose factions and have to be really deliberate on the choices that you make, it really means a lot. And the biggest system that I think is interesting is the whole like this morality, not morality, but it's like a coin system where you and your closest advisors all have like a coin to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whenever a big decision is to be made, even though you are lord of the house, it's kind of like a democracy. Everyone that wants to do one thing or the other, they put their coin onto a scale, and whichever scale that holds more coins at the end of it is going to be the path that you take, regardless of whether you want it or not. And I think that's fascinating because, generally speaking, when you have to make a choice and you want to go with this choice, you just make it. That's kind of it. You have the agency. Nobody else really, has any say in the matter. But here you actually have the opportunity to not only not get what you want, but also have the opportunity to change the minds of the people that think otherwise by talking to them before they make their decisions. So it has this really interesting dynamic where you have these trusted advisors that are trying to pull you towards different directions. And you yourself, even though you have a decision in mind, you have to kind of pull them to your side in order to kind of go down that route, and it won't always go that easily as well. So you have to really think about the choices and the things that you say and what interests them particularly to kind of convince them to go along with what you have in plan. And that's not a thing that I've seen too much in a lot of RPG games. I thought that was fascinating specifically. Even though the combat mechanic is solid, that's the aspect that interests me the most. So if any of that, what I just said, like kind of piques your interest, check out that demo. It's like 3 chapters. You'll get like 5-6 hours of content out of it just by that, and have a good time. So yeah, definitely gonna try to review that game if I can.
News. You ready for the news? All right. Sorry, I'm already thinking about food, so I got my food up looking at it. Acquisition news first this week. Tencent acquired 1C Entertainment.
What's 1C do?
1C is a Russian publisher that does a lot of like weird stuff. I'll see if I can find anything that's big. I remember buying a package from them in the early days of like Steam sales, and like it had everything that they had done.
Yeah, I just did a search real quick, and I got Reverie Knights was the last game I think they put out.
King's Bounty, Death to Spies, Ancestor's Legacy, Il-2 Sturmovik.
Yeah, I remember Il-2 Sturmovik.
The company is also the largest distributor in Russia, publishing titles of most accomplished international publishers such as Activision Blizzard, Bethesda, Take-Two, blah, blah, blah.
King's Bounty is also another game they did, yeah. You said that one.
Yeah.
Nintendo made an acquisition this week, too.
They did.
They acquired SRD, which most people were like they didn't already own them.
A lot of people also think that they own Game Freak, which they don't.
Yeah, no, they don't. SRD has worked with Nintendo since the NES days, and in fact, their office is located inside Nintendo headquarters, so this isn't really a shocker.
Yeah, it's one of those like, oh, it didn't already happen 10 years ago kind of news. But at the same time, following the news of what Sony and Xbox have done recently, it felt like they needed to announce something.
It's weird. They didn't make a big deal about it though. They just did it.
That's true. Because it isn't a big deal. I suppose they can't really present it as such. But Nintendo's playing their own thing.
Yeah, Nintendo is Nintendo, and we just kind of let them do their thing and enjoy their games. It's fine.
Yep.
Guardians of the Galaxy did not meet Square's expectations. Not shocking, but also at the same time, did you really expect it to?
How much did it sell?
I think it was a couple million, maybe.
It's fucking Square. I remember the same exact story when Tomb Raider's it sold 3 million copies, didn't meet sales expectations.
I don't think any game they publish from a Western developer ever meets its sales expectations.
Well, hey, maybe if you didn't fucking do the terrible job with the Avengers, we would be having a different conversation. But like, that's your fucking fault. So like,
man, if Avengers would have been a straight up single player game like Guardians of the Galaxy is, Square would have sold a fuck ton of both of those games.
Yeah.
But I've heard nothing but good things about Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's on my backlog, pretty high on my backlog list actually, to check out. So it's
a fantastic game. It made my top 10.
Exactly. It made a lot of people's top 10, even with some people's game of the years. And coming around from what Avengers did, obviously it's like a different team and everything. I just hope that they will be able to make more games that they want to make. Based on what I can tell, they have a lot of passionate fans on their development team as far as like the Marvel fans and stuff like that goes, and they really paid due respects to the source material, like not the movies specifically, but like the comic books and stuff like that. And I would love to see more of that authenticity going forward. So we'll see.
Yep, absolutely. A couple of Bethesda notes. Bethesda's launcher is going away in April. Bethesda and Microsoft are going to allow you to transfer your ownership of those games over to Steam, which speaks volumes, doesn't it?
And that it does. I had forgotten that Bethesda had their own launcher.
Yeah, that's where I own all the Quake games, which I'm assuming now I will own on Steam, because sure, why not? According to Jeffrey Grubb, my favorite insider, Microsoft is in talks with Obsidian, about a Fallout New Vegas 2.
Ooh, that's my favorite Fallout game.
It's very early talks, so
Yeah.
wouldn't expect it till at least 2025.
I mean, Outer Worlds 2 is coming out. You know?
Yeah, they also have Grounded, which they're still making, and Avowed, so don't forget about that one.
Oh yeah, a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
And,
Obsidian is like, since they got that Microsoft money, they are just pumping games out. So, this story is interesting because it's gonna tie into something later. But Sony announced that Shadow Warrior 3 is going to be on PlayStation Now on day one, so they're kind of getting into that Game Pass third-party day one stuff.
is this the first one that's gonna be like a new release third-party game that's gonna be on PlayStation Now on day one? Or is
Yeah.
I
this
don't think it's the first, but I think it's the biggest. I
biggest?
think,
Okay.
yeah, I think they've had stuff launch into there, but like nothing where it's a name that's.
See, I thought it was
gonna be
just
like,
games
yeah.
with gold that it had. I didn't think PlayStation Now actually debuted any games.
Oh, maybe you're right. Maybe it's PlayStation Plus. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird because we're going to talk a little bit later about Spartacus, which anyway, we'll get there. Your free games, speaking of PlayStation Plus for March is Ghost Runner, Ghost of Tsushima Legends is the bonus game, Team Sonic Racing, and Ark Survival Edition are your PlayStation Plus games.
I never played Ghost Runner. I heard good things. I might check it out then.
Yeah, if you're into that kind of sporadic, like it's basically one hit kills. So if you die, you just respawn. But it plays really well, so it makes up for it. Games with gold is The Flame and the Flood, which is really good. Street Power Soccer, well, I have no fucking clue what that is. Sacred 2, Fallen Angel, and SpongeBob's Truth or Square. So another banger of lineup for...
Hey, Sacred 2 is a pretty fun RPG built like Diablo, and I've heard Truth or Square is fine.
Hey, Sacred 2 is fine, Flame in the Flood is fine, but still, do any of those games scream at you like, holy shit, what a great month? You know?
Yeah, but Game Pass is a thing, and Games for Gold is never going to compete with that.
I think Games with Gold needs to go away.
It does. I think it has served its purpose. Needs to be need all the benefits that your Game Pass should be along with Gold. But then again, that would mean you have to pay a lot more just to play online on Xbox, huh?
I think they need to get rid of the wall to play online and just make Game Pass Ultimate the only subscription they have.
Yeah. Well, I think Ultimate is still too expensive. I still like the whole offerings only on PC. I don't have an Xbox. I'm never gonna need.
Okay, you're right.
Xbox.
You're right.
Yeah.
I think they should keep the console and PC tier separate, but then also have the one that has both. I agree with that.
Yes. That would be good. I think at this point, like, could we agree that the whole online and internet aspect of gaming has become just as crucial as everything else when it comes to like gaming? Like internet connectivity and multiplayer has become so ingrained into the development of these games that having a paywall for multiplayer content nowadays in 2022 seems kind of tone deaf.
Yeah, no, I'm on board with you there because I think PC hasn't ever paid for it, except for when Microsoft tried to put.
And I think more importantly, it's just like some of the most popular games right now, even though I don't think any of us play them, are all free to play. And I realize that they've made the changes to allow free to play stuff be free fully, but like obviously just screams like, well, multiplayer could be free for everything else.
Yeah, it's not like you have more people
bringing in bigger dollars. So yeah,
you don't have more people playing whatever first-person shooter multiplayer game is on Xbox this week than you do Fortnite. So
if you remove that final boundary, maybe that multiplayer lives a bit longer. Like that's just it. Like now it's just literally like this weird elitism boundary that's like, but we need the money to have you play online. Like, do you though? Because there's a bunch of people that play Fortnite that don't pay anything.
I think I could live without. Like, if PlayStation Plus didn't give me more than playing online, I wouldn't have it. Like,
really, I've enjoyed PS Plus with their lineup of games. So.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, if they didn't have that stuff, if it was just pay to play online, I wouldn't have it because I don't ever play online on my PlayStation. So.
Yes, I can see that. Yeah.
And if it wasn't for Overwatch, I wouldn't play my Xbox online. I'm gonna be real honest with you.
Well, that's just us, Ken. Like we're like us three. I don't think we're like the typical like biggest like multiplayer fans these days.
I didn't even play multiplayer anything, so yeah, no.
But I mean, look
Yeah,
at, like Anthony said, look at the games that are popular. Warzone, free. Fortnite, free. League of Legends, free. You know, like the biggest games that people play are free. Apex Legends, free. Like what is the paywall for? I mean, I know Call of Duty's still online like the regular multiplayer, but couldn't they just release that as a free to play? Like, I don't get it. I still don't understand why we have to pay to play online. Seems stupid.
it really does. I think like they honestly, I honestly don't know how they even got away with it to begin with. Like, how were we okay with the whole having to pay to play online when that switchover came? Like, I didn't pay online to play fucking Sega Dreamcast when I was playing Phantasy Star Online,
I
or I
think
wasn't playing online to play fucking Monster Hunter on PlayStation 2, and then that
I
shit started coming in.
I think though that
I can
there
tell
was
you
still that
exactly
boundary,
why.
right?
I can tell you
And I think-
exactly why. It's because Xbox Live was so much better feature rich
Yeah,
back
that's
when it
what I was gonna
launched.
say.
Yeah,
Like we look at that now, and yeah, but like think of all the shit you had to buy to get a PlayStation 2 online.
it was kind of
Like,
ridiculous.
It was such a pain in the ass. And yeah, like if you wanted a wireless connection on 360, it sucked. But like for the most part, it was just kind of you plug it in and it works.
And the quality
that's
was good. Like
kind of yeah,
the
crazy.
voice chat, like the connections, like Xbox Live was the gold standard. But let's be fair, everything is up to par with that now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
even the fucking Switch, which
well, no, let's not go the Switch route because you do have to pay to play online with that, and you got to use your fucking phone.
Oh gosh, Switch.
Yeah, so no, Switch's online is not worth it. And truthfully, if it wasn't for the classic games, again, I would not be paying for that. No fucking way.
sure, yeah. But I'm just saying, like the quality on the worst console that has the like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
none of this. It's all to the level of the original Xbox.
these
online.
companies know that the online you can't just charge to play online. That's why they give you games with it.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, their services, what the things that they're offering that does not include the whole online aspect of it has become compelling enough to kind of stand on their own.
No,
If, for example, PS Plus kind of absorbed PS Now into its services like it basically always should have, and then kind of gave you those access to those kind of PS3 libraries that people have been wanting, just on their PS5s and stuff like that, I think people would have no problem paying for. You would have so many more PS Plus subscribers just signing up for that, not just for the online component. And Game Pass, I mean, speaks for itself, and nothing more needs to be said about that service at this point, other than make it better on PC. But that's me. But the amount of content that they provide and the value that they provide is immense. So if Games for Gold goes away and says like, hey, we decided to make the online free, but we're adding more value to the Game Pass side of it, push that even further, then I think people will be more willing to since they're no longer paying for one service, now they'll be more willing to pay for a different service that gives them even more benefits compared to what was a bare necessity at the time, right? So you're gonna get a bunch of more Game Pass subscribers, and that's exactly what Microsoft wants anyway. They want to dominate the gaming space with the Game Pass. So I think it would just be a smart move at this point in time to do away with PS Plus, Game Pass. I mean, not Game Pass, Games for Gold in their current state. Merge a lot of their services together, and then just kind of go with that. I think that would be good for everyone involved.
well, I'm glad you said that because that's going to tie right into the next story that I have. So we've been talking a lot about Project Spartacus over the last couple weeks, which was Sony's answer to Game Pass. Well, we got some details again from Jeffrey Grubb.
All right.
This could be announced as early as tomorrow.
Oh.
So take that with a grain of salt. Sony's supposedly going to talk about this in March, with a rumor of February 28th being the day there's a milestone. But we have Sony's Spartacus layout is looking like it's going to be 3 tiers. and they're going to keep the PlayStation Plus name. This could change, so keep that in mind. But right now we have PS Plus Essential, PS Plus Extra, and PS Plus Premium. So PS Plus Essential is what you normally got. Online play plus the monthly games, $10 a month. PlayStation Plus Extra comes with the monthly games, the online play, as well as a game catalog of games you can download. The thought is that it's probably the PlayStation Now games that you can download for the PS4. That is $13 a month. PlayStation Plus Premium contains all of what I've said so far, plus you get the streaming games, which is PlayStation Now. You get game trials, which allows you to play games early, and like a demo, basically, so like a 10-hour trial of Horizon or something. And then classic games, which could include PS1, PS2, and PS3 games.
Oh, Nelly, really?
And that is $16 a month.
How much is Game Plus Ultimate a month, Ken?
Game Pass Ultimate is $14.99 a month.
Ooh, just a little bit above, huh?
And it doesn't include day one releases.
That's true.
Yeah, but depending on the classic stuff,
Oh,
Yeah, that's going to be the kicker for me. Like, if they've got some true, like, PS1 and PS2 classics on there, I'd pay $16 a month for that.
Yeah, you know what? I think I would too. If they could have like those classic PS2 like JRPGs that I kind of want to try again at some point on my like modern systems and stuff like that, that would be, ooh, yeah, that would be compelling enough for me to put in for all the way for the premium.
Xenosaga episodes 1 through 3.
hmm
I
And then we
would-
can finally make Drew and play it. It's gonna be amazing.
Like they're going to pay the $16 a month, right?
Hey, you know, they always told me, oh, we're never gonna finish Xenogears. It's not gonna happen. We're stuck. We're not gonna go back to it. And then if I care enough, I'll make them do it. It's just they think that it's their own decision, but it's not really.
That's true.
Not really.
That's true. No, I'm excited. I hope this happens because here's exactly why this is good. You know, the plastic console warriors are out there saying Game Pass is bad for the industry. This is Sony's answer to Game Pass. And if I can get all this crap for like $16 a month and it's got a good classic library, dude, that's awesome. Like, let me play all this old crap. I pay $20 a year for the Switch Online just so I have access to Super Nintendo and Nintendo games, and you know, I don't understand why you wouldn't do it.
It's one of those things, like, they did stop. If you look at the history, right? They were trying to push a lot of these classic games as releases on PS4, like the PS2 games and stuff like that, and all of a sudden they stopped. Even though those things were actually doing fairly well, according to like analytics and stuff like that.
Well,
I mean,
those
I bought 'em
Jack and
all.
Daxter remasters are fucking fantastic, and you're like, why aren't you doing this with Ratchet and Clank? And they never did.
Yeah, I bought all of those PS2 on PS4 games.
yeah, and they ran pretty well too. So the reason why they're not doing that now, and if they are trying to roll out a service that includes like a bunch of these games that get added in every month, and then make it a part of some kind of a subscription service, then that would be the smart move. That would
Dude,
make sense.
imagine when you boot up Gex for the
Primal?
PlayStation.
I was gonna say Primal.
Well, hold on. Let me finish my thought. Imagine when you boot it up and it does the, the sound, man. The boot screen.
Yeah.
The PS2 boot up sound is so iconic, dude.
I'm going to tell you right now that that's the only reason that I put BIOS in my RetroArch. You know, just so I can hear that sound whenever I boot up a PS1 game.
That's my PS4 background is the PS2 one.
Oh
So
yeah,
it
those
has
were
the fucking
both.
same sounds.
Yeah, the sounds are like you can constantly hear the like ambience of the background.
Yeah, and the towers and all that
Oh
stuff. Yeah.
man,
I still remember the olden days when I was a youngster, putting in a PS2 game and knowing that the game is a little bit scratched and just waiting with bated breath.
waiting for
to
the
see
red
if it
screen.
goes- Yeah, exactly. Just for the red screen, or if the little Sony logo is going to pop up looking like, boom, and then actually load up the game. I'm like, oh, come on.
Oh man.
Good times, man.
I want like the PlayStation 1. You say what you want about the PS1 Mini, but it did have the memory card screen. so you could see all the like little animated icons for the memory card. Oh man,
Yeah,
Yoda with boxing gloves was the icon for Star Wars Masters of the Terrace Kasi, whatever you want to call it.
There were some good icons for those games. I had one of those big third-party memory cards that eventually died, but I remember having like 120 blocks of like each one of them a completed JRPG that's like 70, 60 hours long, and looking at like one page of that block is like 900 hours of content that I went through.
Yep, it's scary to like if that thing ever failed, right?
And it did fail, and then I had to do my playthrough of Xenogears again from the last spot. But, you know.
Dude, I had the 3.5-inch floppy drive memory card thing for the PlayStation 1. So I had like infinite memory cards.
Wait, floppy memory card? What are you talking about?
You plug this thing into the PlayStation port and you could put 3.5-inch floppies in it and save your games on there.
Is this real?
Yeah, it was called the Dex.
Dude!
The Dex Drive, I think, is what it was called.
Dude, I'm gonna look this up right now. That's amazing.
Yeah, I had one on the PS2 that was 64 megabytes, which is crazy to think that was the limited space for saves. And I had to put in a disc to start it up.
Yep, I remember the
It was a
disc
piece of
one.
shit.
Yep.
It didn't work because it actually glitched out the Sly Cooper game, so I couldn't finish it. He wouldn't grab onto ropes properly. It would only work sometimes. Crazy.
Yep, I loved all that memory card shit back in the PlayStation 1 days. It was great.
The Dex drive I'm looking at right now, Ken, is the one that allows you to transfer over data from PC to PS1, but I don't see a floppy drive one. Is it
Maybe
called maybe it's called something else?
Maybe it was called something else. PlayStation 1 memory drive. Oh fuck, what was this thing called? You could save games
Daytel memory drive.
Yeah, there it is, because it had the cord went to like a memory card style.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
Hold on, I got it. I'm gonna put it in the chat here.
I got it before you.
Oh, but I got a picture.
Yeah, well,
So-
mine's got a picture on the tweet.
Yeah, look at that thing,
Oh,
son.
God. That is amazing.
Yeah, that's what I have.
You truly learn something new every day. I thought I was a big fan of the PS1 generation, but oh my god, I never even knew this thing existed.
Oh yeah, I had I had the fan on my PS1. I had the memory cards. I had the Game Shark that went into the I/O port that they removed in later models of the PlayStation 1. Oh man, I love that system. That system was my like teenage years, so it kind of resonates with me the most.
Yeah.
But man, that system was
So
great.
many. Yeah, we really need to bring that stuff back. I really loved having perfect emulation for PS1 and PS3. And then I still have my Vita, which is like one of the best ways you can play PS1 games still, but just being able to, play on the big screen and stuff like that would be nice.
Yeah, I've got a RetroArch set up, and I've got a ton of PS1 games that I play on it regularly, and I've got a like long HDMI cord with a switcher that lets me switch it to my TV, and I've got a wireless Xbox controller, and that's the way I play.
I have a modded original model of PS3 and a terabyte hard drive inside of it.
Nice.
And inside that terabyte is just raw or ISOs of PS1 and PS2 games.
Oh, the police coming for you. Woo, woo, woo.
Yeah, you can't buy half of this shit anyways.
I know. I'm just kidding. All right, a few more news stories. Here's one Jay be excited about. Soul Hackers 2 was announced.
Hell, this news came out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, they had a countdown that was like...
We got
They
news
did.
that came
They
out
did.
of nowhere. More of it too later on.
It's one of those things like, if you ask me, which of the Shin Megami Tensei games are they gonna make a sequel of? Soul Hacker would have probably been like the last one that I would have mentioned. Not because the game is bad. Soul Hacker is on like the 3DS that I played was actually very good. I enjoyed it, but it felt like such a reach for this game to get a sequel. And the way that it looks like fucking Persona 5, like very stylized and everything. And yeah, I'm just very thoroughly excited and impressed. It's also coming out before the end of this year, only in like 6 months or something like that. Yes, Shin Megami Tensei fans are eating good with Shin Megami Tensei 5 and now this coming.
It's such
in,
a
like, 1 year,
weird...
basically.
It's such a weird release, though, because they announced it for, hold on, PlayStation, makes sense. PC, okay. And fucking Xbox?
Yes, isn't that great, Ken?
It's-
Finally.
I mean, it's great, but why not Switch?
Switch version might have to be a cloud version, by the way this game looks.
I mean, I guess. I mean, it's just, but it's so weird. Like, Atlas hasn't put out. You know what the last Atlas game that came out on the Xbox was? Fucking Persona 4 fighting game.
Oh, Persona 4 Ultimax.
Yeah, that was the last one that came out on
Ooh.
Xbox.
I don't understand. I felt like whenever a Persona like 5 came out, I was like, oh, it's gonna be on basically everything. But then it actually ended up just being on like PlayStation for the
Yeah.
longest time, and that was strange to me.
But it still
Uh,
is.
It's not like they have a contract with Sony or anything, you know?
I don't understand that. Like, Persona 5 is not on anything else.
Is it? Yeah, Persona 5 Strikers is on basically
Yeah.
everything, but not fucking
Well,
Persona
no, it's
5.
still not on Xbox.
Persona 5 Strikers not on Xbox?
No. I told the last game Atlas put
Damn.
out for the Xbox was Ultimax.
Well, Persona 5 Strikers is a Koei Tecmo joint, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's still published by Atlas.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, Atlas just doesn't put games out on Xbox. So when they announced Soul
Hey.
Hackers 2 for the Xbox, I was like, say what?
Maybe this is the time, man. Maybe the Atlas backlog's gonna start getting released on Xbox.
That would be nice because more people need to play some of those games.
Yeah, that'd be. I'm honestly, I know that Atlas has mostly been more like Eastern focused compared to some of the other RPG companies and stuff like that, which makes sense. You know, they stick with the Sony and blah blah blah. But you know, given that this is getting the worldwide simultaneous release on multiple different languages, it makes sense that it's on multiple platforms as well. So I'm glad this is coming to Xbox, and I hope this is the start
Yes.
of many other games coming to multi-platform.
Call of Duty 2023, according to rumors, has been delayed a year. We will not get a new Call of Duty in 2023.
Good.
This will be the first time since 2012, I think. Maybe it's back further than that. But it's been a long time since we haven't had a Call of Duty yearly iteration.
Yeah, absence makes the heart want, right? So I think this gap year, as it were, will be good for Call of Duty in general. Not to mention they still have a presence with Warzone anyway, right?
Yes.
So ultimately, it comes down to it. No one's gonna forget about Call of Duty because it didn't come out in 1 year. When it comes out 1 year after the fact, people are gonna be like, "Wow, I haven't played a new Call of Duty campaign in a long time." They're gonna be more involved, more interested in the hype and all that stuff, and it's gonna do even better as as long as the game itself looks good.
Not to mention, Treyarch will be the first developer to get a 2-year development time, which should make the game better.
Yes, hopefully.
All right, a couple more stories. Capcom had a countdown as well. And out of that, 2 announcements came. The first one was the Capcom Fighting Collection, which has 10 games in it with rollback netcode. Of those 10 games, 5 of them are Darkstalkers. Bring this shit on.
I feel like we were just talking about Darkstalkers not too long ago before this announcement, Ken. So I feel like we're responsible for bringing this to everybody. So you're welcome, everybody.
That's right. Darkstalkers is such an underappreciated fighting game series. I really didn't feel like we needed all 5 of them on there, but you know what? I'll take it.
To just have them in your library as a one collective collection is nice, though. Just have the history of the series right there on your fingertips.
The rest of the collection is weird, though. It's Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, like the HD edition, Gem Fighters, which I believe was Pocket Fighter on the PlayStation. God, what else is on there? The weird one is Super Puzzle Fighter. That's a weird one. And I forget what the other 2 games are.
There's this one that's like
the red.
Beastman?
Red Earth?
I think so. Yeah, that's the Lion Man, right?
Yeah, the Lion, and then the other one's the Cyber Strikers, which has the kid from Marvel Capcom. What was his name? With the white bandana.
Yeah. It's like everyone knows that character from Marvel vs. Capcom 2, but not from his actual game.
No, nobody knows what or is it called Cyber Striker? Something like that. Like, that's such a weird thing. Hold on, I gotta look up the
I actually used that character in MVC too. His name is Jin Saotome, and he's the main character of Cyberbot Full Metal Madness.
Cyberbot, that's what it's called, not
Yes.
Cyber Strikers. Okay. I was trying to look up the list of games that were on here, but nobody actually lists the fucking games. It's very helpful. And then Capcom also announced Street Fighter 6.
And it's like I think the things that I saw most of my timeline was Ryu's bulge and toes.
Yeah, his wide Ryu is what they're calling him.
Yes. Did you see the one with the Metal Gear Rising meme where Raiden is punching Ryu's wide chest, and then the fucking theme song is playing on the background? I don't know why that meme exists and why it came back like 5 years after the game's release, but it's everywhere and I love it.
I don't understand this announcement though. They announce it, they say more news coming summer, and they didn't announce a platform. After Street Fighter V's debacle of being only on PlayStation and PC, why would you not? It feels like they're just trolling us at this point.
Do you think they're holding off on announcing that because it's bad news?
Yeah,
it's gonna
I
be
don't.
another partnership with Sony that's going to be fucking botched to hell.
Ugh.
I hope not.
No, Street Fighter is universal and it should be on everything. It's like what I keep saying about Mortal Kombat. Like, whoever buys them, that game needs to stay multiplat. Like 100%. You don't lock down iconic franchises from plastic boxes. So stupid.
Yeah, especially fighting games where the player base is something that is necessary for the game to stay alive. Kind of segmenting that player base to different platforms for whatever reason that might be. Especially, for example, if like first-person shooters, I can kind of understand to some degree because people playing on PC generally has advantages over playing on console. But when it comes to fighting games where everyone's using the goddamn same arcade controllers or whatever, it doesn't matter. They
Yeah.
should be able to play against each other at any time.
Yeah, and against anybody anywhere. Like, just make it
Exactly.
crossplay. Like, Mortal Kombat built that into 11 after some time, and it kept that game alive for years.
hmm I think Mortal Kombat is still an evil, right, and stuff like that. So there's still competition there, despite it being around for so long. I forget, Ken, did they announce Injustice 3 officially?
No, NetherRealm hasn't
I
announced a new game at all. They've been super quiet, and the scuttlebutt around it is that somebody's talking about buying them, so they just don't want to announce it, and they're supposedly working on MK12, because if they get bought, they don't have the Injustice license anymore.
So everyone's expecting Injustice 3, but they might not have the license, so they have to probably make MK.
Yeah, I've heard they're working internally on MK12 because they don't know where they're going to land. So.
Oh, I was kind of looking forward to a new Injustice at this point, so that's kind of a bummer. But
Yeah, me too.
hey,
I
Give
don't
them
know.
Marvel. Nothing would make me happier than them doing a Marvel game.
That rumor floated for a while, but I don't think
I know,
that's
I
going to
know.
happen.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening either, but it would be nice because, like, let's be honest, the last Marvel fighting game kind of sucked ass.
Yeah. All right, last news story broke this morning. What the fuck, Pokemon?
Oh, hold on.
Okay, what?
Speaking of Evo, Smash will not be at Evo.
Well, I mean, it doesn't shock me, truthfully.
Nintendo's like, no, yeah.
Nah.
Alright, yeah, Pokemon, what the fuck?
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet were announced for 2022, which will make 3 Pokemon games in a 12-month span.
that's pretty soon. I wasn't anticipating another Pokemon game in the same year. Is
No.
that kind of unprecedented for like a mainline? I guess Arceus is a spin-off and all, but it felt like a mainline entry to me.
Yeah, a lot of people were... I think, Anthony, you might have nailed it on the head that they didn't know how people would react to Arceus' kind of design.
I'm pretty sure that, like, because, the complaints about Arceus, I honestly don't know. I always pronounced it Arceus, but whatever. A lot of the complaints have been that, like, the world's kind of empty. That's kind of the only complaint I've heard, which is a fair complaint, but something that can be fixed. Outside of that, the reception has been positive, but it's such a shift from what Pokemon was that I have a feeling that it was put out as a spin-off to kind of test the waters. It allowed them to be like, yeah, you're not going to get all the Pokemon in this, which has been arguably the thing that has held those games back. And will continue to do so unless they have finally dropped it, was the idea that you could keep bringing your Pokemon forward. Like, Pokemon Bank is, like, going away because the 3DS isn't going to be there. So, like, it's interesting to see that this is kind of all coming together. But, like, if this is the type of adventures they're going to be doing from now on, they can get away from having to program every Pokemon, and that's kind of crazy. But yeah, I have a feeling that's partially it because they set the expectations that not all the Pokemon are going to be there. They changed the gameplay drastically, and now we're getting a mainline game that is going to play like that game that they put out. Yeah, I have a feeling this was to test the water, and if they had a negative response to it, I bet we wouldn't have seen this.
But like, it's so soon, though, Anthony. Like,
Yeah, but like, if you look at the Pokemon timeline, a lot of the Pokemon games are that soon. Like, there's
really?
really no, yeah, like, there's really no time downtime there. Um, and the biggest thing, there's a really good breakdown of why the Pokemon games kind of fell apart in their old traditional style. Think about it. Every time new Pokemon are announced, there's new merchandise to be made. So they constantly have to be in the we are making new Pokemon to make more merchandise, to make new cards, to like that is the main money making machine of Pokemon, not the games. But the games need to be the thing that introduce those Pokemon. So yeah, they're always working on something there. And they didn't work on Diamond and Pearl remakes. That was a third party company, and it was very well done, but it was a third party company. They worked on Arceus, but like once Arceus is done and you have the mechanics kind of nailed,
That's
it's
true.
now just making a new world. And they've been working in 3D for a while now. So I don't think that they're out of question. And like, you know what, people are gonna complain, but they're probably gonna reuse assets.
Well,
And
yeah.
right, like they're gonna reuse the 3D models they made. Because as soon as they left 2D, those 3D models have to stay uniform because they always have to look the same. All the Pokemon have to like if you have a Pikachu, that Pikachu has to look the same as every other Pikachu because it needs to look like Pikachu. Um, and that is not the case when we worked with sprites. Like sprites, you could have a little bit of artistic flair added to them, right? Whoever drew the sprite could put themselves in that, but the 3D models have to stay consistent. So once you have a 3D model of a Pokemon, why wouldn't you reuse it? It's a bit much if they're like reusing like really old stuff, but like at this point, most of the models have been made for the Switch. So I don't see a lot of work having to go in them, and this was probably done before Arceus was even out, and they probably got to have a little bit more time because they were going to release Diamond and Pearl, so Arceus didn't have to come out until this year when it was probably done last year.
Do you think, however, given the circumstances of what you might be saying, if RC is reviewed poorly and the fan backlash was like, "Hey, we don't like this style," would this game not have been announced today? Well, not today,
Probably
but
not.
was
They
it
probably
today?
would have waited to have like a Pokemon Direct.
Mhm.
And they probably would have because again, all their games have been in 3D. They probably would have reworked it, maybe gone back to the Sword and Shield engine. But all the 3D modeling would have been done. All the rigging would have been done. So the movements and all the characters and everything would have been done, but you would have had to change what like game engine you're using. So like the 3D models can be moved back and forth. You can watch people on PC steal models from other games and put them into fucking Gary's mod. So, um, it's I could totally see them going, no, and taking those models and putting them into the Sword and Shield engine if the Sword and
Gotcha.
Shield games did better. Because again, that's work they don't have to do twice.
You know,
Um,
as someone that my first Pokemon game that I've ever finished, and this is I made a concerted effort to finish Pokemon Sword, because I bought Pokemon Sword and Shield for my nephew, and I had Sword always. I've had it since launch, and then I recently, just last year, played it and completed it. Despite not enjoying it that much, I thought it was kind of like meh. But then I played Pokemon Arceus this year, and I thought it was much better. I enjoyed the experience quite a bit more than I did with Sword and Shield. So as a new fan getting into the series in the modern systems more or less and figuring out that the RC is kind of gels with my playstyle better, I'm excited to know that it's the template that they're going to be following going
I
forward.
I think classic Pokemon fans that have enjoyed Arceus too, because again, this idea that we had to bring everything forward, which wasn't even possible for the longest time. Like you got to bring Pokemon from like red and blue to gold, silver, Pokemon blue, red, and yellow to Pokemon silver, gold, and crystal. But then you couldn't. They dropped the Gotta Catch 'Em All name. No one seems to remember that. They dropped it from Ruby and Sapphire. And Ruby and Sapphire didn't have all the original Pokemon in it. I don't think they did until Emerald came out, and Emerald started allowing you to catch other Pokemon because Emerald had to be able to connect to Leaf Green and Fire Red. And it's like, and then from that point on, from the Game Boy Advance on, you could bring your Pokemon forward. But think about how much that holds you back
Yeah.
from being able to do certain things. So when I got to Diamond and Pearl, which is when I re-entered the conversation of Pokemon, I could take a Game Boy Advance game, put it into the bottom of the DS, and take Pokemon out of the Game Boy Advance game and bring them into Diamond and Pearl. And then, of course, from there, you have Black and White 2, so you got to bring your Pokemon forward. But then we get to the 3DS games, so what they did was they allowed Pokemon Bank, which would take Pokemon out of your game and put it into the 3DS, and then they were going to add that to Sword and Shield, but then Sword and Shield didn't have all the Pokemon, and people were upset. But it's like, every time you drag stuff from the past, it holds back any sort of innovation, because it all has to play kind of like the original Pokemon games. And we only have to go back as far as Ruby and Sapphire, but that's 20 years ago. Like,
Thanks for making me feel old.
no, fucking, it's just, it's crazy to think about, but like, yeah, those games came out early on in the Game Boy Advance life cycle. So you're going to take a 2001, 2002, or 3, whatever it was, game, and make sure that everything from that time works now. So Arceus allows that reset, and Diamond and Pearl also kind of locked off that past stuff simply by not having that Game Boy Advance port. And I'm sorry, I think those games do better for not having to hold on to the past. And with the fact that the Diamond and Pearl remakes seem to have done well too, and gotten the Pokemon audience into something that looks not as realistic as where Pokemon was trying to go, where it was a full 3D world. I think there's space for both of them, and I think they're making really good decisions for the first time in a long time, because I dropped off at Black and White, tried to get back in the 3DS era, and the 3DS era sucked. I know some people love those games, but like, they really dumbed down everything, and it's like, clearly they were scrambling. They all of a sudden you could Mega Evolution, and they turned into giant Pokemon and blah blah blah, and they all had to have a gimmick. And now it's just like with Arceus, people have been saying like, I just like capturing Pokemon. You can sneak up on them and throw a ball and capture it, and the battles, I'm moving out of the way constantly, so I'm giving commands to my Pokemon, but having to stay out of the range of the attacks and everything. And I'm like, that sounds compelling. It sounds like they finally did the thing that they needed to do all along, but they couldn't do it if they were trying to bring everything from fucking 2003 with them. It's a mess. Like, I will find it, and I will I will mention it as soon as I find it, but there's a breakdown of like all the problems, and some of the stuff I'm saying now comes from this video where it's like 20 minutes, and it just kind of breaks down. Like, I get why the video is essentially saying, I get why people are complaining about Pokemon, like Pokemon fans complain about Pokemon, but the things you want Pokemon to do are actively the things that are also allowing it not to change. And
the thing that's most curious about Pokemon and Game Freak in general is that, to me, Pokemon is such like a golden breadwinner license. It's the most most profitable game series of all time. Like, it's like it might actually even be the most profitable IP of all time, even beyond things like Star Wars and stuff like that, which is beyond Marvel, beyond Star Wars. And can you imagine how much money it has baked up over the years throughout movies, animation, the merchandise, games, and everything else in between? When you have something that popular, change is innately going to be very difficult for you to implement. And not only that, it's almost unnecessary. because a new Pokemon game can come out, it can review like dog shit, and I guarantee you, it will still sell millions and millions and millions of copies based on namesake alone. And in that way, it's kind of difficult for them to change in that way. So I'm finally glad to see that they're making some adjustments here and there, albeit it's going to be like watching fucking paint dry as far as the improvements that they're going to make over this whole RCS system. But the solid foundation has been set, that is good enough that improvements along this path will make it a more compelling experience for everyone else in between within the next few iterations or so. So I'm hoping that when we get this new game that comes out, we're going to see those improvements from Arceus that we're looking at, and they do manage to, just like you said, kind of shave away and kind of shrug off a lot of the remnants of the past that's kind of been holding them back. So this game, especially the follow up to Arceus, I think is going to be a very important game for Game Freak and also Pokemon fans in general, because it's going to be very telling for what the game series is going to be like for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. The video I'm talking about is actually 40 minutes long, but it's how Pokemon became a logistical nightmare of design, and it's by Foxcade on YouTube. Got 1 million views, and honestly, it's the most. I don't even remember how I stumbled upon it. I literally fell into this video, and I'm like, fucking, I'll hear him out, because he wasn't complaining. Like, every time a Pokemon game got released in the last fucking 3 years or whatever it was always a complaint about, like, oh, it's too easy, I hate experience share, this, that. They started complaining about the Diamond and Pearl remake, saying, like, how dare they, it just looks stupid, and blah, blah, blah. And, it explains, like, you can't keep everybody happy. So, that's problem one. Problem two is, there's always new fans entering, so it has to be accessible to those fans, and accessible to the hardcore audience that wants to really dive into the weird stat mechanics that are there. And ultimately, the biggest part is that, like you said, it's one of the most profitable IPs on the face of the fucking planet. But they need to continuously make new Pokemon. That is part of the goal, is to make new merchandise. You can again, Pikachu has to look like Pikachu. And in the early days, yeah, Pikachu plushies might have been a little rough looking, but like now when you get a Pikachu plush, it looks like Pikachu, and all the other Pikachus look like Pikachu, and like, every other Pokemon has a very much set in stone look. So, when they do the different forms or whatever, that's new merchandise they can sell, whether it be a card or like a phone case or something. That's constantly what they have to be doing. So that's the reason why we see new games all the time. But the new games people were not enjoying as much. And, look at how they handled Sword and Shield. They're like, expansion pass? Like, that's kind of unheard of. Normally they just make a new Pokemon game, but everybody seemed to hate that answer, which is weird because it saves you the price of buying the same game twice for extra content, which is what they did with...
I still don't like the fact that they're dividing the fucking game into Scarlet and Violet, by the way.
No, that's always going to be there, though, because they want you to buy two UPCs. That's unfortunate.
Screw that shit. I like the Arceus. There was only one game I bought and all the stuff in it.
But, I mean, like, they used to do that even worse with, like, look at Sun and Moon, and then there's Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
Yeah, but...
And what's the difference? Not much, other than a few changes to Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Platinum did the same thing with Diamond and Pearl, where it's the same game, but we've changed a few things, and if you want to see the new stuff, you have to buy a whole game. And then they did a DLC pass, and people were upset about not being able to buy a new game, which is crazy. So hopefully this is the beginning of something new. I'm excited. I kind of saw it, and it looks more interesting to me than Pokemon Arceus. Arceus, I was like, I don't really like the past look of everything, and like this is like clearly a modern day-ish Pokemon, and I'm like, alright, you got me. I'll end up buying this.
It's weird because like I was gonna buy Arceus, and now I'm like, do I?
Arceus was a lot of fun, Ken. Like,
but I wasn't gonna get to it for like another month. Do I just wait for the new one? I don't know.
That's true. That's the thing about Nintendo games specifically. If we were talking about like any other company, I'd be like, yeah, just wait until first sale and then.
Nah, there won't
But
be any sales on
yeah,
Pokemon.
that's what I mean. If we're talking about if this was like a Ubisoft game, oh yeah, wait like 2 months, it'll be like 75% off, you know. But for Nintendo games, especially Pokemon, the best you'll do is like $40 instead of 60. Uh, that's like 6, 7 months from now, maybe.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
All
But
right.
yeah, exciting times for Pokemon fans for sure. Yep.
Yep. All right, we got 2 emails and a tweet, and then we're going to get out of here. It's a long show.
Yeah.
Antonio says, so, as I had previously tweeted before, I decided to play Elden Ring as my first FromSoft game. I've played around in the world for roughly 10 hours and have beaten 2 side bosses. That game has made me forget all about Dying Light and Horizon. I feel bad only getting a small amount of time out of Horizon, considering that I absolutely loved what I played of it so far. It's crazy how much I'm enjoying Elden Ring as a person who plays games on the easiest setting. Gran Turismo 7 is out in a week, and I'm absolutely exhausted from all these games. By the way, I was so happy after beating the first boss that you see after the open world opens up that I ate a whole thin crust pizza to celebrate. Today might be the day I take a shot at the first main boss, so wish me luck and patience.
Awesome. That's the kind of comment that like really warms the heart, like people kind of with some hesitation going into something that they're not sure about and then kind of coming out on the other side like really happy that they decided to dive in. And that's what these new games are supposed to do. They're supposed to be more inviting, get more people involved into a formula or genre that they're not, all that particularly fond of or experienced in. So I'm very happy that you're having the experience, and I hope you have more fun with it.
All this is giving me FOMO big time, because like I started playing it, and I got about an hour or two in, and I was just like, this ain't doing it for me. I just haven't booted it back up.
I've been lacking that feeling. Like part of me is like, man, Horizon, but I'm like, I just don't care.
It's funny because I
That's,
beat
like, so
Horizon
fucked
before anybody even got it, so like I didn't miss out. I was like, I already beat that.
But I'm like, I loved that first game, and I was years after the fact I got into it, and like I want to see where the story goes, and I just don't have like the drive to be like, I need to get it now. I'm like, I can wait.
Yeah.
Which is so weird because that's not normally how I am with anything.
I feel like maybe I give it another week, and then there's like just endless amounts of information about Elden Ring, and maybe I can hop in and kind of.
Ken, like if you're interested in some resources, I gave one to our good friend Terrence, and he used it in order to kind of get a head start on things, and he seems to be having a good experience with it now. Like getting much more powerful at the very beginning. It literally takes you 15 minutes just to go grab a couple of things in the map that makes you substantially more powerful. And yeah, I would recommend that guide.
The problem is Ken can't read.
What's a video?
It's a video. Yeah. So if you just follow that along, Ken, like you're gonna be significantly more powerful, and you might have a better experience with it. I mean, you already own the game. It doesn't hurt to give it a shot if you like.
I just got the horse, so.
Yeah, you're at the very beginning.
I know, I'm at the very beginning. Like I bumped into some things, and like I got frustrated, and I turned it off. What's funny is like I can lose 10 straight games in Overwatch, and I'll keep playing. But if a boss beats me or an enemy beats me in Elden Ring, I just turn it off. I don't.
Yeah, if you turn it off every time you lose, it's gonna be a long play.
I get frustrated because like single player action games, like I'm like Antonio. I play on the easy difficulty setting because I don't have time to just bang my head against stuff anymore. Like I used to enjoy that, but I don't anymore. But I see all this cool shit in this game, and again, I'm just like, man, I want to see this shit myself.
There's a lot of cool shit, and watching a let's play of that game might be a second job onto itself.
Yeah.
It's like 100 hours. But like you said, maybe if you give it a bit more time, maybe you'll get that itch again. Sometimes you kind of get the itch for something that's challenging, right? You can boot the game up, maybe follow that guide and see where it takes you.
Yep, I own it, so why not?
Yep.
Jeremy sends an email, said, "Sup? I picked up Elden Ring. See, goddamn it. And I'm having a blast so far. I was about 5 hours in. The way the game is set up, I like to use co-op to get a good feel for the boss. Then I'll go in and take him out when I feel ready. Then I don't lose my runes/soul/blood things. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm kind of Bones, the person who summoned me in my trial and error, but so far it seems to be working. The game plays great. Lots of pop-in. I'm playing in performance mode. So on to the reason I'm writing an email instead of playing the game at 6:30 a.m. I got my coffee, kicked on my PS5, and it says it can't load the application. Apparently this is a widespread issue judging by all the posts. I'm currently waiting for it to reinstall, hoping I'll get a chance to play after work. Getting burned off a pre-order is kind of inevitable these days. What was your guys' worst pre-order or review game issue? Thanks and have a great week.
I don't think I've had any so A Way Out. I had technical issues. I know that I've brought that up enough times today, but it's just like I remember having technical issues with that game. But I really gave it slack for it because I was playing it so far in advance. Pre-order wise, I mean, fuck. I bought I bought No Man's Sky the day of release.
Ouch.
So there's that.
Street Fighter V was pretty bad at launch.
Yeah, that was a bad one. But to be topical, I pre-ordered Cyberpunk 2077 on PC on GOG. I believed in I believed in CD Projekt Red. They had the track record at the time, but didn't turn out so well.
Yeah, most recently, literally before the day one patch, which I did get before the embargo lifted, Horizon Forbidden West was kind of a mess.
Was it?
Oh,
Wow.
yeah, like I had buildings in areas that were like half polygons. I had characters falling through the floor. I had like
Apparently
characters...
that's still going on with people. I've been listening to podcasts of people playing it, and they're like, it's not polished.
It was a lot worse before the patch. Like a lot worse. I remember waiting and holding my review. I'm like, you know what? They said this patch was going to be... And they did get the patch in. Before the embargo lifted, I booted it up. I played a couple more hours. Ran into a lot less issues. But man, if you play Horizon Forbidden West without that day one patch, that game is rough.
Damn, I'm surprised to hear that. If nothing else, I would think the Guerrilla would be pretty good as far as the polish of their games goes. So that's surprising.
Yeah, it was surprising to me too, and it's I ran into that with Ratchet back before it launched. Like that was the first time I'd ever had issues out of an Insomniac game, really. And I kind of put it on like, well, it's COVID, A lot of these games were built during a time when they weren't the best working conditions for some of these games.
True.
So I kind of chalked it up a lot to that. I was really curious if that day one patch was going to fix Horizon as much as it did. And trust me, I know you can still see bugs in that game, but boy, you guys do not know how lucky you are that you are seeing that version.
But that lies the double edge of being a reviewer, Ken. Like, we want to have the best experience with these games, but the nature of the business states that oftentimes we're going to be missing out on these crucial updates that makes us have these worse experiences than the day one consumer, which kind of sucks, but comes with the territory, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. The tweet I have is from Adam. He says, "I just have one question. Do you really wanna taste it? What a ride. Binged Peacemaker after you guys high praise last week. Gotta say it's probably better than any of the Disney Plus Marvel shows. Cheers." Yeah, that show's really fucking good.
Yeah, I also watched that too. I didn't know you guys did too. I had a good time with it. It has some really funny humor.
Yeah.
Is it getting a second season?
Yes, James Gunn has
It is.
confirmed there's a second season coming.
Terrific.
Yep, I love that ending. I'm not spoiling it, but that last scene with the cameos is really fucking good.
Wait, was there like an after credits thing?
No. The scene where he walks up, he's like, "You're late."
Oh.
That scene cracked me up.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
But no, that whole show was that is really the best stuff DC's done in a long time. Like, kudos to them for bringing in James Gunn. The Suicide Squad movie was good. The Peacemaker... I didn't give two shits about that Peacemaker show. Like, I didn't really care for his character in the movie, but that show is so good.
James Gunn, he knows how to write characters and humor like really well. I know a lot of that humor was also like ad-lib on set and stuff like that, which impresses me even more considering how funny the actual actors are and everything. But they got the right people for those roles. It's great.
Yeah, and almost every character in that show is really well done, and I like them.
Nice.
That's it. To kind of tack on to the I finally watched Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City.
Okay.
That movie is what we would have wanted back in 1992. Like,
Would we, Ken?
we
Were we
would have.
really that?
We would have.
Yeah.
It's the closest to the Resident Evil story that you'll ever see in a movie.
That's not 3D animated, yeah.
I mean, it's closer than those.
Oh.
It
Come
follows
on.
it follows the events of 1 and 2 almost to a T. They change a couple things here and there, and Barry Burton continues to be, just underappreciated.
Disrespected.
He is disrespected in those movies.
Got it.
But everything else in those movies, I'm like, oh shit, they had that. Oh shit.
The only thing that I will say, I'm not gonna harp on about the quality of that movie, which I did not enjoy very much. But what they did to Leon was criminal. You gotta admit that. Come on.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Making him to be that, yeah, that's not fun. But Claire, the actress that played Claire, was
can we
good.
just spoiler there for a second? I'm just curious of what happens there. Spoiler alert!
Oh, for Leon, they made him
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They made him
see,
kind of
was-
like a punk. Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just curious because I was wondering if they made him into a monster at the end.
No, they
no.
didn't go that far, thankfully.
Well, that would be that would be like a deep cut to Resident Evil Gaiden.
Oh yeah, I know about that line, but no, they didn't go that far. But they kind of made him into this. I understand that Leon's supposed to be a rookie, and that's perfectly fine. But they made him into like this incompetent, laughingstock kind of like nonsense character, which
Yeah.
really doesn't fit to who he is. Not even like in the later games, but even in Resident Evil 2,
Right.
And also fucking Wesker, Jesus Christ, with the Wesker.
The guy who played
Oh.
Wesker in those terrible movies that I don't like was really good.
Yeah, at least he actually had like the kind of pseudo menacing aura that Wesker
Yeah.
has. No
The-
one's
the
gonna
camp.
no one's gonna do Douglas. What was his full name? Something Douglas. I forget.
Yeah.
DC Douglas or something like that. He's the voice actor for Wesker.
Oh
He's-
yeah.
He's incredible, and the gravitas that he brings to the character, and the stuff that he does in the games, like he's one of my favorite like antagonists in video games. Despite the fact that obviously it's cheesy and blah blah blah, but he has such a presence, and I love how campy he is. So to see him relegated to what he is in this movie and what they did with Leon specifically felt kind of offensive to me.
Let me tell you about Doom.
No,
No, you
movies.
don't,
No.
you don't need to.
we don't need to
I
talk
am
about
in
Doom.
more-
We don't need to talk about Doom.
And I'm not even talking about the one that everybody knows.
Oh, you did. So there's two of them. I don't hate the one with the Rock. The one with the Rock is an
The
entertaining
Rock is
movie.
okay. Yeah, the new one is bad.
The new one is bad, but I could still
And I
get
get
through
different-
it.
Yeah,
it's-
no, neither of them are. None of these movies are unwatchable. That would be Max Payne.
Mark
but I-
Wahlberg
I-
is Max Payne. Marky Mark.
That movie's so fucking terrible.
You've clearly never seen any of the Uwe Boll video game movies because those are the bad ones.
Yes, but they're just bad movies before you even get to the video game aspect of it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
that's just it. Like, Uwe Boll makes bad movies. I'm talking about movies that, like, had money behind them and not just, like, German grants or wherever the fuck Uwe Boll comes from.
I'm pretty sure Operation Raccoon City or whatever, Welcome to Raccoon City, didn't have much of a budget. You can see that in the CGI.
Yeah, they did not have a lot of money, and that's fine, man. You don't have to have $100 million for every movie that you make. It's just that I it's one of those things where like, why are they in such a hurry to try to squeeze in so much of this movie content, game content? Why did they need to make it 1 and 2 together with a little bit of Code Veronica in there too for whatever reason? So it's like they tried to put in elements of 3 different games into one movie and change the elements of characters that made them iconic, and then expect the fans to love it with all the like silly references that it make. I don't know. I'm not gonna say it's the worst movie ever made, but I'm just gonna say that as a fan of the Resident Evil series, I just didn't enjoy
Well,
it. that
nostalgia sells. So
Hey, I
that's
liked it.
part of it.
Although I did wait till it was $10 before I bought it. Like, I wouldn't pay the $20, $30 or whatever it was.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do it. But I'm sorry, guys. Every time I come onto the podcast, I feel like it always becomes a 3-hour show. So let's go ahead and end it here.
Yeah, let's get out of here. If you want to shoot us an email, it's podcast@ztgd.com. You want to follow us on Twitter, Anthony's a Complacent Robot. I'm a ZTGD, and Jay is a Bottomside J. You can also follow the site as ZTGD Content. Also, we have winners for the Oddworld stuff, which I need to send y'all some DMs. So I will do that this week. Check your DMs for your codes. We're giving away Oddworld Stranger's Wrath HD for the Xbox. So I will DM you tomorrow when this show goes live. Phoenix Down, I think they're doing 1 or 2 more episodes of Yakuza 4. They didn't do an episode last week because Drew's a bastard. But check those out. But if that's it, I don't have anything else. So if nobody else does, we can get out of here. Peace, Precious.
Alrighty. And it goes something like this.
Epic fail. Welcome to the N4G podcast. $0.
This is going to be a very interesting episode.
Greetings, programs. I got lost trying to find my way to the secret underground N4G Radio lair.
The Wombat.
And always so angry.
Killer Wolverine. Play games, not consoles. No fanboys allowed.
And then I killed the dragon. 8.0.
Killed the dragon.